Most e-commerce owners make a huge mistake with Google Shopping. One day they just sync their product feed and for the rest of time they forget about it. This is exactly how you lose money while your competitors steal your customers. Here's the thing. Google Shopping is the highest intent traffic source online. People are searching specifically for the products you sell, but to get the sale, your campaign structure needs to be perfect. In this course, I'm going to walk you through a complete Google Shopping setup. I'll show you how to organize your products and set bids so you can stop paying for bad clicks and start getting results like these. My name is Dr. Liam Deneen. I'm the founder of Vulcan Digital. We're a premier Google Ads agency, and I've helped over 100 direct-to-consumer e-commerce brands scale with smarter Google Ads strategies. Because we don't guess, we use data to make you money. And with that said, let's get right into what Google Shopping campaigns actually are. If you're still relying on Meta or TikTok ads to sell your products, you're missing out on one of the most profitable traffic sources in e-commerce right now, in Google Shopping ads. In 2026, the brands winning big aren't just advertising. They're showing up at the exact moment their customers are ready to buy. And that's what Google Shopping does better than any other platform. In this series, I'll show you step by step how to set up, optimize, and scale your Google Shopping campaigns the right way so you can stop guessing and start selling. So first up, what is Google Shopping? Well, Google Shopping ads are those product listings that you see at the top of Google search results. And then down below the fold here, we have our search ads, which are text-based. But up at the top are our shopping ads. And unlike text ads, these are showing our product image, our price, our store name, and even reviews all before someone clicks. Here's what makes them so powerful. When someone searches for buy football boots size 9 black, they're not just browsing, they're shopping. Google Shopping puts your products directly in front of people who are ready to buy. And no other platform gives you this blend of showing physical products to customers at the very moment that they're ready to buy. When someone clicks in your ad, they go right to the product page. And because people are able to shop with their eyes, they don't just read about the product in a text ad, but they actually get to see it too. They can see reviews, they can see how much it costs to be delivered, but more important than anything, they can see the cost of the actual product. This means those who actually click have a much higher intent to purchase. And on Google, we only pay for clicks. And this is why shopping campaigns typically see a much higher conversion rate than all other campaigns. Intent is higher, conversion rate is higher, so ROAS is higher. Every time someone types a product search into Google, there's an instant competitioning happening behind the scenes. Google has to decide which products to display from thousands of options, and it all comes down to their auction system. Here's what actually happens. Google evaluates your maximum cost per click bid alongside two other crucial factors: how well your product matches what the person is searching for, and how customers have interacted with your ads and your website in the past. The winning combination gets the prime real estate at the top of the search engine results page. But here's what most people don't realize. Having the highest bid doesn't guarantee you'll win, because Google prioritizes stores that deliver results for shoppers. If people constantly click your ads and buy your products, Google will favor your listings even when competitors bid more aggressively. That's why people who deeply understand Google Shopping can compete and even beat advertisers with much bigger budgets. Before we go any further, you need to understand the 3 platforms required for running these campaigns. Your e-commerce store is the foundation. Whether you're using Shopify, BigCommerce, or another platform, this is where your actual products live, with all their details, inventory level, and pricing. Google Merchant Center acts as the bridge. This platform takes your products and translates them into a format that Google Ads can understand and use. You'll upload what's called a product feed here, essentially a spreadsheet containing every detail about every product that you want to advertise. And Google Ads is where the magic happens. This is your campaign center, where you set budgets, adjust bids, and monitor performance. But it can only work with products that have been processed and approved in Google Merchant Center. Think of your product information as going on a journey from your store to your customers. It starts on the website with product titles, descriptions, images, and prices. This information gets packaged up into a feed that's taken to Google Merchant Center, and Merchant Center acts like quality control. Google reviews everything to make sure it meets their standards and policies. And once your products pass this review, they become eligible to serve in shopping ads. And from there, Google Ads takes over. When you create shopping campaigns, you're essentially telling Google which approved products you want to promote, and importantly, how much you're willing to spend to get them in front of customers. The entire system is designed to ensure that when someone sees your shopping ad, they're getting accurate, up-to-date information that matches exactly what they'll find on the store. Now that you understand what Google Shopping Ads actually are, we're going to start getting into the nitty-gritty of how to set them up. And by the way, everything I'm covering in this course, all the setups, the checklists, the best practices, I've put together in a free Google Shopping Handbook, and it's yours to download via the link in the description below. With that said, let's jump into Google Merchant Center setup. Most advertisers set up Google Merchant Center once, then forget about it. But my team and I use it every single day to generate millions in additional revenue for our Shopify partners. If it's not set up and optimized in the right way, well then your ad campaigns will not perform. In this video, I'll show you how to optimize Google Merchant Center so your products stay approved, show more often, and send better data into your Google Ads account. And our team have generated millions in revenue using shopping ads alone by following these Google Merchant Center optimizations. And with that said, let's get into the video. So Google Merchant Center is the platform that stores and validates your product data before it's used for advertising. So essentially how it works is the source of your product data is going to be your CMS, which for most brands is going to be Shopify, or you can create a spreadsheet yourself and upload it manually. The product, as I said then, is uploaded. Ingestion is uploading of the product either via an API connection to Shopify or a manual file upload. Validation is next, so Merchant Center will scan your data, ensure it meets Google Shopping requirements and all the data quality standards. And then distribution, the approved products are synced from Google Merchant Center to Google Ads, where you determine how much spend you put behind them, in what campaigns, etc., using your Google Ads account. So inside in Google Merchant Center, it can seem a little overwhelming, but my job today is to help break it all down for you, show you what's most valuable to be reviewing, where you need to go if certain issues arise, and things like that. So the first place you're going to want to go is to products. So under products here, you'll actually see the percentage of products, or the number of products actually, that are approved, that are limited, that are not approved, or under review. So I can see here that there are 4,200 that are approved, 38 are limited, and 2 are not approved. So if I want to actually go and see what those issues are, I go up here to click needs attention. By default, it will show prioritize fixes. These are the most important things you need to fix. And thankfully for us at the moment, there are no prioritized fixes in this account. But if I unclick that and I can see all issues, I can see products, why they're disapproved, what needs attention, and what I can do to actually get them approved again. So this is something that I would review pretty frequently. Google will tell you what you need to do. I have a couple of examples here where I have a product page unavailable, I have an invalid GTIN, and a few things like that that need to be reviewed. So they're just minor things that we can change. For the product page unavailable, these are actually products that we no longer stock. The other thing here is click potential. So this is quite interesting. If you do have a lot of products that are disapproved, it can feel a little overwhelming to go, okay, I need to fix 400 products. But what you're actually better off doing is sorting by click potential. So those that, if you fix them, could lead to the highest upside in clicks. So Google will give you high, medium, or low. Obviously, these are all quite low here. But my suggestion would be, if you do feel overwhelmed, to start with the highest potential. So what I would do is once a week, go into Merchant Center, make sure all of your products are serving, go to your needs attention tab here, make sure you've no prioritized fixes left. And if you do have non-prioritized fixes, to begin working through them in order of importance. And as I said, either you'll know yourself which are your most important products, or you can sort by click potential to help you with that. So the next thing here is the store quality, or the shopping scorecard as it was formerly known. But the top quality store badge is essentially what you get if you are deemed exceptional in terms of your overall quality score as a merchant. Now, the badge itself is probably less valuable than it was. I don't actually see it listed on product listings all that often anymore, but I do believe that you still will rank higher as a result of achieving it. And also, notwithstanding that, even if you don't rank higher because of the badge itself, you will rank higher because of what it takes to get the badge. And we'll go through that now. So you will be compared with other merchants in your location based on 5 different things, and also in your verticals, so in your niche. So that would be firstly shipping experience, that would be delivery time, so the lowest time possible obviously and the lowest cost possible. The return experience, so what's the return window and what's the cost to return. The browsing experience is next, so how many images do you have per offer, so how many images are in your shopping ads. So particularly for apparel companies, it's important to have models standing different ways so you can see the product in different styles. And are they high resolution as well? Obviously, that's really important. The higher resolution the images, the easier it is for the customer to see what it is they're looking at. Store rating is next. So are you getting ratings through at a store level? And then purchase experience. So are you giving people multiple means of payment? So PayPal, Google Wallet, Apple Pay, Amazon Pay, these are the ones here, e-wallet options. And then your promotion rejection rate. So if you're setting live lots of promotions in Google Merchant Center, but they're being rejected because they don't match what's being said on site, well, then what you're actually doing is creating promotion tags on your listings that can't actually be redeemed on site for the customer, which is obviously a really poor purchase experience. And as such, you'll be downgraded on that. Now, my advice here would be to focus on improving these as much as possible. If nothing else, it will elevate your whole shopping experience for customers across all channels, but it will really help you improve your ad rank on Google Shopping, which will give you more access to clicks, impressions of highly qualified traffic, and obviously that gives a higher likelihood of conversion, and the economics of that obviously makes much more sense. So your store quality is next. Once a month, I'd really review this to see what it is you can be improving, but always be making a conscious effort to be improving everything here and being as competitive as possible. The next valuable place to go inside Google Merchant Center is to your reviews. So in Google Ads, you have 2 distinct types of ratings. So first of all, you have store ratings or seller ratings. And secondly, you have product ratings. So your store ratings indicate a general rating of your business. They actually don't appear in your shopping ads, but they can be seen in your free listings. They can also be seen sometimes in your text ads. So you actually might notice them in your search campaigns like this. Your product ratings, on the other hand, they are individual product reviews. So they do appear in the text area down here in your shopping ad. They're incredibly effective at boosting social proof and increasing click-through rate on your shopping campaigns. Now, for us, generally speaking, our Shopify partners will use one of 2 aggregators. There are a few other ones they use like Yacht Pro, but most commonly it's Trustpilot or Judge.me. Trustpilot is an official product review aggregator for Google, and when you actually link it to Google Merchant Center, it will automatically sync your product ratings through. Judge.me, on the other hand, is not an official aggregator, so you can still sync it up to Google Merchant Center. You actually have to submit your product ratings interest form. I actually have it linked here in this document. When you get approved for product ratings and everything like that, you just have to go into Judge.me. There's a guide inside in your app that will tell you how you can download your reviews and then upload them to Google Merchant Center. If you need help doing that for your e-commerce store, well, then just book a call directly using the link below in the description. And if you want access to that product ratings interest form in Google, I actually have it linked here. So if you want to download this whole Google Shopping handbook, it basically includes everything to do with Google Merchant Center. It includes everything to do with setting up a campaign from scratch, your campaign optimizations in account, and everything to do with product feed optimization. It's a pretty big book full of really useful information that has basically been at the epicenter of our success with clients. If you want that, It's also going to be linked in the description below. My recommendation is, if you don't have this set up, get it set up as a matter of urgency. Your product ratings, it takes 3 or 4 weeks after you submit that product interest form to actually be approved. Once approved, then you can obviously begin syncing your reviews through, and you can start serving your product ratings like that. And it's really important that you do. Next up are your store ratings. So there's 2 ways you can do this. If you have a paid partner like Trustpilot, it will actually do this automatically for you. You can also opt into Google's own customer reviews. It's slightly limiting. You can't actually make any adjustments to the post-purchase survey that Google puts in. Like, it's not the most eye-catching, but it is a good way of getting seller ratings. Just remember, they're only really going to be served in your text ads. I wouldn't have the same priority on store ratings or seller ratings that I would on product reviews. Now, next up are sales and promotions. So if you've ever seen a Google Shopping ad with a text saying special offer, 15% off, or anything like that, it's a promotion. These are obviously great for being really eye-catching. They increase click-through rate. They don't actually lower your listing price. So there's 3 main ways that you can run promotions. You can have the sale price, so a price drop badge or a sale badge. Basically what that means is adding the sale price attribute to your listing. Generally, that should come through via the Shopify API connection. So when you do have a product that is showing at a cheaper price on store, then it should come through into Google Merchant Center, in which case you can often see the slash through pricing and the sale tag as well. So that's fantastic. The next thing you can do is like a special offer text using Google Merchant Center promotions. So this is something more formal that you set up in Merchant Center. I'll show you how to do it in a moment. But this is great if you're running like a store-wide offer, like Black Friday, Cyber Monday kind of a thing. And you can also do it for evergreen offers as well. That's really slept on, because you can set it up like your email sign-up offer. You can have that there. And okay, it might not be the most attractive offer, but it's still going to serve something in your product listing that says, you know, get up to 10% off, that a competitor won't have, and most people will just neglect that. So if you want to add a promotion, just go down under marketing here to promotions and click on add promotion. You can also link your website so that it pulls dynamically. But basically with your promotion, then you choose a country, a language, you choose a date range, and where you want it to serve, so on our online store, and then the incentive. So the incentive here could be an amount off, it could be a percentage off, it could be a discount range, cashback, free shipping, or a free gift. Then you can have a minimum purchase quantity or other eligibility requirements. So it could be free shipping over $50. The audience is then, so I'll talk a little bit about the new customer offer that we are using at the moment that's working really well. But basically you can set this up. You can serve it for particular products, or you can serve it for all products. You can set it to finish at a certain date as well. And what you'll see are these kind of things. So this is free shipping. This is your free gift from Caraway with the really expensive purchase. This is the shipping cost, but this is a discount code. And then here we have the standard shipping cost, but it's free on €50. So lots of different things we can add there. Next up is first order promotions. These are new in 2025. They're currently mobile only. But basically what we can do inside Merchant Center promotions, where I just showed you, is target users who haven't bought from us before. And what we can do is maybe set up like a 10% off for new customers on mobile search. It allows us to bid more aggressively for cold traffic, or if we want to use Google for cold traffic, this is a great way of getting them in. So the only thing is you need to be running either a shopping or Performance Max campaign, most often Performance Max, on a new customer bidding strategy. And in that instance, then this is how a shopper will view your promotion. So for a known new user, so if Google knows that this person is not a customer of yours, well, then they will be given this first order price with the slash through and everything like that. So it's really enticing. But if Google doesn't know this person, so there's a chance they're a customer, or there's a chance that they're not, it will still show that first order is $90, but it won't have all the other bells and whistles like the slash through and everything like that. So preliminary reports from us are pretty good on this. It's only showing on mobile for now, at least. I don't know if Google are planning on bringing it in on desktop too, but it is a great way to get more new customers through your Performance Max and shopping campaigns as well. And lastly, I want to go through reports, because we have two different types of reports really in Google Merchant Center. We obviously have the scorecard report as well, but we have product reports and we have pricing reports. So within product reports, we have a traffic report. So this allows us to see our most popular products, those trending up or down, our most popular brands, once again, those trending up and down. So we can begin to get an idea of what products we're moving the most volume of in terms of clicks. Competitor report is next. So basically, who's coming up alongside us most often? What's the overlap rate of our known competitors? Basically, this is very similar to Auction Insights that is available within Google Ads, but with Auction Insights, it's more so done on like a campaign level, whereas this is done more so on a merchant center level, on a brand level, so you can actually get a wider sense rather than just for an individual campaign. But you can see all the same things: who's the highest visibility change over time, things like that. Popular products, find out which products that you sell are most popular on Google. So this is more like kind of wider market, which products that we actually stock are getting really popular or are gaining popularity. So these are things that, maybe we don't actively push these in campaigns, but we have a look and go, okay, that's interesting. This is gaining popularity. Maybe we should have a look and push more of this brand or more of this product type. Your promotion report is next. So you can actually see how many clicks and interactions and impressions, click-through rates, etc. you got from your different promotions. So you can see this was a dedicated promotion here. This is like this orange line here is a sale price, the price drop, etc. We can see which of our products benefited most from promotions. So that can be really useful to get a sense of, okay, if we drop a 10% discount on a product like this, we can expect X amount more clicks or whatever. And then which of your promotions are the most popular to customers? That's also really useful, because you can look back historically and go, okay, when we offer a 10% site-wide discount, we get 20,000 more clicks on our shopping listings. Whereas when we offer free shipping above $100, we get 40,000 more clicks or something like that. So you can actually bring these insights on really high intent traffic, as we do, back to our brand partners or back to your boss or whoever it is, and actually say, okay, this promotion had a really strong effect. Here's the data behind it, rather than just guessing and even looking at a store level, because we know when it comes to promotions, what you're doing a lot of the time in advance is, okay, we're trying to build a funnel, and then email, does a lot of the heavy lifting actually during the promotion at times. Whereas for us, it can be a case of, okay, this promotion led to high intent search and predominantly shopping traffic, and that is cold traffic, at least the way we set up our campaigns, etc. So that is just useful information. Pricing report is next. So this is very useful to look at if you find your performance is dipping a small bit. If you find that you are still getting a nice high search impression share on products, particularly hero products, but what you're seeing is a lower click share, that means you've probably got a pricing issue, or you've got a product title or image issue, but more than likely it's a pricing issue. So you should be coming into the pricing report here in Google Merchant Center and actually saying, okay, what are our prices on a more macro level compared to benchmark, versus what's our price across different brands. And then we can see our most popular products with their benchmarks, the clicks we're getting as a result, and then some price suggestions and the potential click uplift from those suggestions as well. So this is just something that I feel most people neglect massively. I really like pricing reports if you have a lot of data available to you. It isn't always the case. Google doesn't always pull really good pricing reports. This is a reseller brand, so that means that we've got way more data, because there's a lot more people like us in the space, and it's really coming down to price as to who's going to get the click. So this is why we're really razor sharp on these type of reports at the moment. There you have it. Google Merchant Center, everything from product diagnostics to your shopping scorecard to your reviews to your report. There is so much inside in Google Merchant Center that the vast majority of people are completely neglecting. So for the good of your business, get into Google Merchant Center today. Take a look around. There's so much really important detail inside there, but also there's so many things that you need to be keeping an eye on for product diagnostics and making sure your reviews are coming through, because if you have any issues with products inside in Google Merchant Center, then you just can't advertise them on Google Shopping ads, and that is a massive red flag. If you're serious about Google Shopping campaigns, keep watching. because now we're going to what I believe is the most important part: feed optimization. If your Google Shopping or PMAX campaigns are not performing, your product feed is usually the #1 cause, even if everything else looks fine. Why? Because Google decides when and where your products show almost entirely on the data in your product feed. In this video, I'll walk you through exactly how you can optimize your product feed inside in Google Ads, so your products show for more qualified traffic and convert more often. This is the same feed approach we're actively using across dozens of e-commerce accounts, and it's helped us generate over $50 million in revenue for our Shopify partners. So with that said, let's get into the video. So most advertisers spend almost all of their time tweaking their campaign settings, their bidding, their budgets, their audience, negative keywords. And I'm not saying that that's not important when it comes to your shopping campaigns, but data does suggest that over 60 to 70% of performance from Google Shopping actually comes from product feed optimization and not campaign structure. So I'm definitely not saying campaign structure isn't important. I am saying product feed though is so important. So think of Google Shopping as SEO for products. There are no keywords, so it's not like search campaigns where we can bid on keywords. Google will scan all the attributes we give it about our products to decide which of our products are relevant to particular user search queries on the search engine results page. If our data is sparse, if it's incomplete, we are essentially invisible. Google doesn't know anything about us. It won't serve our products, and as a result, we won't see good performance in Google Shopping. So product attributes are the standardized data points that tell Google and obviously the customer also specific details about our item. Before I get into the attributes list, I am going to go through the individual attributes here quite quickly. I will leave a link in the description below. You'll be able to access this handbook in its entirety. I also go through everything from campaign structure, setting up a campaign in Shopping A to Z, all of your merchant center optimizations. That's all included in this handbook. All you have to do is click the link for the shopping handbook. I will drop it in the description below. The attributes list. So these are universally required things like your product ID. Obviously, it is the unique identifier, product title, description, a link to your website URL, an image link, the availability, whether your product's in stock or out of stock, and then the price and currency, obviously. Conditionally required. These are often required depending on the type of product it is that you're selling. So it is brand, GTIN, that is your identifier code. I'll talk more about that later. Condition, whether it's new or used, your Google product category, color, size, gender, etc. And then some additional recommended attributes. These have a high impact, help you serve more often, but they're not required. Sale price, material pattern, your mobile link if you have a dedicated mobile landing page. Now, the most important attributes to optimize, I call these the Magnificent 7. So quickly, price, title, image link, GTIN, description, custom label, and Google product category. I'm just going to jump right into the first one here, which is price. So Google Shopping is essentially a price comparison site. As a result, price is the single most important attribute in your feed. You can have a really, really good listing, loads of reviews, but if you're 10 times the price, you just won't get as many clicks. Now, you might be able to justify the price with other methods, and we can talk about that again. But if you have a product and you have a product listing that's identical to another, quite often a user will opt for the cheaper price. And unfortunately, that is the way it is. So if you have identical products, if you're a reseller here, for example, you might be selling Nike Pegasus shoes and you are selling the exact same product at a higher price, you'll probably see lower impressions and lower click-through rates because customers will opt to click on your competitors' listings instead. So what I would recommend you do, firstly, you can just search. You can search in your location for the type of product it is that you're selling and look at pricing of competitors versus your own listing. You can also use the price competitiveness report in Google Merchant Center. This gives you a number basically of products that are either cheaper than benchmark, similar, or more expensive than benchmark. You can see and drill down into this data on an individual product basis as well. So rather than having to manually go and look for the products on Google Shopping, you can actually do this in Google Merchant Center. But there are a few tips and tricks that I recommend when it comes to price. So look, price, I'm sure you've tried to be as competitive as possible with price. You've probably changed from higher price to lower price at times, and maybe you've had a net positive effect or a net negative effect with those changes. But here are a few tips and tricks that I do recommend. So you can encourage Google to add a sale annotation to your listings. So either something like price drop here or a sale tag here. And these really help with click-through rate. Now, you must submit a sale price. Now, you can't just fake this price. Basically, you need to ensure that of the last 6 months, you have been priced at the higher price point for at least 30 consecutive days. Now, if that is the case and you drop your price, you will see sale or price drop, and that would be very eye-catching for the consumer. So that's one thing you can do. Obviously, look, if you have a hero product, you can also go to Google Merchant Center, as I said. They will show you your products. They will show you potential changes in price. So if you were to lower price by $10, let's say, it will give you a potential uptick in performance if you do that in terms of number of clicks, etc. So that's something you can do. But when it comes to price, you have to make sure that your price matches price on the website, or else your products will be disproved. Are you discounting your eligible products? So quite often people have discounts that aren't filtering through because of the way their Google Merchant Center is set up and their feed is set up. Have you reviewed your competitiveness against some competitors in terms of pricing? And then are you ensured that automatic item updates is turned on in Google Merchant Center? So if you have an API feed coming through, make sure that it's updating, sale prices so that when a product does go on sale, it's reflected in your product listing. Now, the next thing is product title. And along with image, I think this is tied second in terms of importance when it comes to product feed optimization. Now, I see a lot of people that talk about product titles and they give you this set, if you're in this vertical, this is what your product title should look like. If you're in this vertical, it should look like this. I'm not a big proponent of that because invariably what happens is everyone ends up looking the same. And what you're actually trying to do is not do that. You're trying to stand out in a good way on the shopping network. But basically what I say is you need to understand who you are and how people search in order to determine which path is best. So path A is the reseller path, I would say. So selling known brands. For example, if you sell Samsung TVs, obviously Samsung is a really well-known brand and has a lot of brand equity. So someone searching for a Samsung TV, it would be quite foolish to remove the term Samsung from that title. So the general formula is the brand and the product type, more information about key specs and things like that. You could include more features, etc. in that title. It's by no means a finished article, but what you're doing by front loading brand and product type is establishing credibility instantly. So when someone searches for a Samsung TV, they see your product title and they know, okay, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Now, path B is where the vast majority of people who are watching this video will probably fall into, and that is more so the private label, so traditional direct-to-consumer brand. Now, I have unknown brand here, which is probably a little rude of me. No brand is unknown, but you won't have the same brand equity as leading players in your market or aspirational competitors necessarily. So whereas for path A, for the reseller, it's really important to include the brand and the product name early on in the product title to establish that credibility. Your brand and product name doesn't actually carry the same level of credibility, and it actually becomes a waste leading with that. So instead, what you want to do is establish relevance and value early on in the title. And one thing I didn't mention is that you have about 70 characters before your title becomes truncated, and even less than on mobile as well. So you need to make sure that you're leading with the most important product terms, any key benefits or unique features about your product that will help you stand out. Then you can include specifications, attributes, and then at the end, if you want, you can include brand. But it's not something you should necessarily lead with. So what I have here is men's bamboo running socks, odor resistant and blister free. These are, nice unique features or key benefits. This is the core product term. This is the attribute, and this is the brand name. Okay. So to me, that would be better than saying Acme Co running socks size 10, because we're giving more value early on in the title and saving that brand name towards the end. So you can even see with Caraway here, they're a massive direct-to-consumer brand, but they actually are not leading with their brand name. The other thing to be conscious of here is that you can show your brand name, and you do show your brand name via the advertiser name here. So you'll still be able to see your brand name for people. But see what they're leading with. They're leading with specs of their pan, non-stick, non-toxic, PFAS free ceramic pans. I don't even know what that means, but I presume it's important. If you have been doing your research on pans, it's obviously important. I presume something to do with like plastics or something like that. So the front loading rule, regardless of which path you take, the rule of the first 30 characters and even the first 70 characters apply. On mobile smartphones, so Google will truncate the title after about 35 characters in the grid view. So that means that those first 30 characters are crucial. So if you're a reseller, Nike Air Max 90, that is a pass because it gets that core brand and product name across. You've established credibility there in very few characters. If you're the private label, traditional D2C brand, Acme Co, Preemie, and then you lose it, it becomes truncated. The user doesn't know what it is. Obviously, they can look at the product image, but the whole point of this is that the product title tells them exactly what it is. Now, what would be a better bet would be orthopedic dog bed, because here you've hit the pain point instantly, but you've also just mentioned what the product itself is right away. So that's much better. So when it comes to product titles, including those core product terms and those key benefits and features, not only helps the user in terms of the user recognizes, okay, this is what I'm looking for, this is great, but it also helps Google. It helps Google to understand what it is your product actually is, who it's for, what unique features and benefits there are in relation to your product. So even if you look up here with Caraway, if someone's looking for this PAFS free ceramic pan, then this will be the type of pan to turn up. If someone's looking for a 10.5 inch frying pan, if someone's looking for a cream frying pan, a non-stick, non-toxic frying pan, induction compatible frying pan for healthy food, blah, blah, blah. So there's so many different queries that are probably really, really relevant to Caraway that a user can search that would likely trigger this brand because of the work they've done with their product title. When feature solution is the driver, product term, key benefit feature, key attribute brand. So a bad example of this would be Lux Sleep. Let's say that's the brand name. Pillow, king size. I don't know anything about this pillow. If it's an expensive pillow, Why is it expensive? There's nothing to maybe justify a higher price point here. Whereas king size cooling pillow, instantly, I like the sound of a cooling pillow. Memory foam for neck support, so that's a key unique feature and benefit. And then Lux Sleep, the brand name at the end. So the bad example makes the classic mistake of assuming the customer cares about the brand name, when unfortunately they don't. The good example assumes the customer has a problem, back pain, sticking food in the case of caraway, and leads with the solution. So I have some more examples here: bedding, cookware, pet supplies, activewear, skincare, travel, supplements. None of these follow a set, you should do X and Y and Z in this order, because I don't believe in that. You should be looking at some core product terms, some SEO terms. What are you ranking for? What are the most important product terms, benefits? Look at the language your customers are using. This is what you need to be doing in order to actually create product titles that make sense and are valuable for both Google and also your customers. Next up is your product image. So your products can appear on desktop next to 5, 10 competitors, maybe 3 or 4 on mobile, or even less. So if someone is using the exact same product image as you, or everything's on a plain white background, then basically it's just a lot of noise. Everything kind of looks the same. So you want to win the click with the product image, not just show your product. Because if you're getting qualified traffic, right, with your product title and all your other attributes, and you're able to increase your click-through rate, I would argue that Google Shopping is one of the most cost-effective ways of driving really high intent qualified traffic to your website. So number one, it's a really, really good thing from a pure economic standpoint. The second thing then is that if Google deems in maybe a competitive auction that you're getting a higher click-through rate, if your CTR is higher than benchmark CTR, then Google actually thinks you've got a really good product listing. And then if people go on to convert, Google thinks, okay, not only is the product listing good, but the customer journey is good, the product is good, etc. I want to serve this more often and increase the ad relevancy and give users a really nice experience when they search for this kind of product. And then you get all the benefits of that as well. So you get more impressions, more clicks, more qualified traffic. So important to be improving your image all the time. There's a few sneaky tricks you can use. I've gone through some of these in other videos. I've talked about using Nano Banana Pro to create lifestyle images. But one thing you can even do here as an example is the angle shift. So if every competitor is showing the shoe facing from left to right, and you show yours facing the other way, it can just be enough of a psychological cue for people to stop and look at your product. Now, I would argue here it's probably not enough of a psychological cue, at least for me, to go, well, I'm going to pay 140 euros here as opposed to 90 euros here. So you can see how still price is the most important. But basically what you're trying to do is get every little incremental boost in performance that you can. And this is one good trick. The second thing that we do that tends to have a much more profound effect in truth is all about lifestyle imagery. So I have had people ask me this question before: how do you get away with lifestyle images and non-clear product backgrounds? We never have an issue with this once the product is centric, once it's very clear what it is we're selling. Never had an issue with it in all our years. I say, for example, here, I find it very difficult. Okay, you can see that this listing has details, specs in terms of size, but even this one here, very difficult to get basically a sense of how big this product is, whereas you get a much greater sense of scale, because you have the carpet here, you have the wall here, you have the plant here. And I just think aesthetically it looks much nicer. Now, this product is 780 euros as opposed to maybe 210 euros here. So I feel like instantly you need to elevate this listing. And this is done quite well, I feel. And I would be more inclined to click through. Now, the only argument I would have is that it's kind of difficult to see the product itself up close. I think it's a small bit far away. But I do like what they're doing here, and I do think it stands out relative to these guys. The in-pack versus out-pack, this is good for supplements or cosmetics. A lot of the time with cosmetics and supplements, I just see the bottle or the actual pouch or pack or whatever the case may be. Whereas like Huel here, they don't have to do too much, but they have your pouch with your powder. They actually have the drink made up as well, and then they have the watermelon. So right away, I'm drawn to the fact that this is clearly a watermelon drink. If I'm looking for a watermelon drink, my eye is instantly going to be drawn here. So it doesn't take much to stand out. Believe me, go and look at the shopping network. The bar is quite low a lot of the time. Then the argument about lifestyle versus product isolation. Should you show your product on a white background or being used by a human? So I say here the answer depends on the category. So product isolation is best for tech and hard goods, electronics, auto parts, and hardware. It's all about the specs, the actual compatibility. You're not trying to sell an outcome, you're trying to sell something functional. And when it is really functional, I find that just a simple product listing just continues to work best. So you can see charger here, I know exactly what charger it is, and I can click through knowing it's the product that I'm looking for. Whereas the lifestyle context works best for like home, apparel, decor, so furniture, rugs, clothing, outdoor gear. You can see this lamp here is sitting on a wooden table. It just looks nice. You can get a bit more sense of the scale, the aesthetic that it is. And once again, I think it's just elevated compared with the plain product image on a white background. The photo shoot problem was previously an issue. It's no longer an issue anymore. It used to be a case that it would be so expensive for brands and obviously time consuming to get lots of new lifestyle images or even product flat lays or anything like that. But now using all sorts of large language models and AI apps and everything like that, it is so much easier. And obviously ourselves at the agency, we are using Nano Banana Pro most often at the moment. I've actually recorded a video. Once again, I'll link the video here. You can download this full guide also, and you'll be able to go through to each of the links here. But the thing is with this, it just allows you to create really high quality images quite quickly, so you can test really quickly. And we've seen, even in the last month since we've really upped our volume in Nano Banana Pro, such a profound effect in terms of performance. So click-through rate has gone up, and we're now seeing that kind of positive feedback loop of higher click-through rates leading to more qualified traffic, leading to higher rankings, etc. And we're reaping the rewards of it at the moment. The zoom factor is something to consider. Mobile optimization. So you need to be conscious of what shopping listings look like on mobile. So you can see here on mobile, you can only see 3 shopping listings, and not even 3 full listings. So if we were selling earrings, but we had a full length image of a model, we wouldn't actually be able to see the earrings whatsoever. So the product should fill 75 to 90% of the frame. I actually think even here it's a little bit small, but I'm probably just nitpicking again. But just be conscious of how your ads look on mobile, because 60-70% of your traffic will likely come through on mobile. Once again, I've got good versus bad image strategy for different categories. I won't run through them now. And then I also have your optimization checklist. But I quickly want to get on to product GTINs. GTINs are non-negotiable. They are your global trade item number. They are essentially your barcode number. So think of it like your social security number. It's the identification of your product. If you don't add them in Google Merchant Center when you should add them, Google won't be able to index what your product is very, very well. And then as a result, you won't be serving to really relevant queries, qualified traffic, and performance would plummet as a result. Quite often as well, if you don't have GTINs, you'll have it limited, or often at times you'll be completely disproved inside in Google Merchant Center. So where you can find them, you can either reach out to your supplier or manufacturer. You can use this website here that I'll have linked, where you can actually search for your product and it will give you your GTIN. Custom labels are next. They are invisible to customers but allow you to subdivide your campaigns. So they're more so for internal use than they are for actual pure product feed management, but it feeds back to how you can structure your campaigns really well. They allow you to organize your products into good kind of sensible categories that help you, as I said, with campaign architecture. So what you could do is you could have a performance bucket. So you can have custom labels set up for your top sellers, your zombie products, those that never get clicks, those products that are kind of in the middle, and then you can actually create different campaigns based on those different labels. The second is your seasonality bucket. So you can have a winter collection, and instead every time a new product rolls out for that winter collection and you have to manually add that to your campaign, you just tag it with winter collection and it feeds directly through into your winter campaign. So custom labels are fantastic. Just don't go overboard with them. You can actually make it more confusing than it needs to be, but they're a great way of organizing your campaigns. Next up is the Google product category. The confusion here lies in the fact that you have kind of 2 category attributes. So you've Google's product category. This is Google's own taxonomy. They have a list of product categories, and basically what Google will try to do is match your product to the closest product category. It will do it itself, but you can override this and set it manually. Product type then is your own taxonomy, so it's a way of you actually categorizing your product into men's shoes, women's shoes, running shoes, kids shoes. And once again, this helps with campaign structure. It's not something that the end user on Google will see, your prospective customer. It's more so for you. But Google product category is quite important in order for you to know and have the confidence that Google is indexing your product correctly. Very similar to GTINs. Essentially, if you've got a good GTIN, good product title, good product category with Google, well then you are 90% of the way there of ensuring that your product is serving for qualified traffic. So description is next. It's not really something customers look at too much. It's quite often not accessible, but basically it is another way for Google to index your products alongside your GTINs and your product categories and your titles. It's very good for adding keywords and keyword stuffing, and it's good for long tail queries. So the example I have here is to do with compatibility, but if you have different unique features or benefits to your product that maybe were not quite relevant enough to include in your product title, but would be relevant enough to include in your description, bearing in mind your description can be up to, I think, 5,000 words. Now, quite often ours will be less than 1,000. But if you're adding those, let's say it's running socks and they're anti-blister running socks, and maybe you got in a small bit more information in your product title, but you missed out on things like marathon friendly or trail running friendly or multiple sizes or machine washable or 50 wears or get 100 wears or 500 wears, things that maybe someone is searching for. So they might be searching for a pair of socks I can wear 500 times, or a pair of socks that are good for trail running and marathon running. Well, if you can include that like keyword rich information in your description, it just gives you a better chance of serving for those longer tail keywords, which actually a lot of people won't be serving for as well. So it's kind of just going like above and beyond and really helping to serve for a really wide array of qualified traffic. If there's one thing to take from this video and this guide, let it be that in Google Shopping, the more granular you are with your product attributes, the more visible you will be to qualified traffic. Google is data hungry, so the more information you can feed it, the better. And what I have here is every empty field in your feed is a missed opportunity for traffic. Now, it's not
excuse the pun, quite as black and white as this, but if you leave the color attribute blank, you miss out on everyone searching blue running shoes. Now, you will rank way lower if you don't include color, and quite often you can actually have apparel or footwear products disapproved if they don't include color, but you need to think about adding more to help you serve for more relevant queries. That's how I would think about it. Aim for 100% attribute density if you can, particularly on your most important products. Sometimes for people, I give them recommendations about Google Merchant Center and product feed optimization and everything like that, and they go, well, I've got 1,000 products, where do I start? And I say, okay, well, like, there are tools that can help you with it, but if you are looking to do this manually, or you just want to get started, start with the most important products for your business, the ones that are driving the most revenue right now. Then move on to the products that you think have the highest potential, but that aren't doing as well as you think they should be on Google Shopping, because they're the ones with the highest potential upside to the improvements here. And just remember that feed optimization is a process. It's not a single project. So it's a continual thing. So we're constantly looking at search term reports, click-through rates versus benchmark. We're looking at seasonal shifts. We're looking at price adjustments inside in Google Merchant Center competitiveness reports. So what we're doing here is constant. It's not like a one set and forget. So it does take a lot of time, but ultimately it is the level of detail you need if you want to be taking your Google Ads account from spending, 5, 10, 20K a month up to 50, 80, 100, even 200K a month. This is stuff that's just non-negotiable. You can't neglect it because you won't be able to kick on to the next level. So I would argue that it's like neglecting creative inside Meta. It's that important.
Now we're diving into a section that brands constantly overlook. That's your Google Shopping product images. Your image is the first thing shoppers see. It's what makes people click on your ad instead of scrolling past it. But most e-com brands are doing this completely wrong. In this next video, I'm actually going to tear down some well-known D2C brands' shopping ads and show you exactly what they could be doing better with their product images, so you can avoid these mistakes that even those massive brands are making. And let's dive in. If you're wondering why your Google Shopping ads aren't hitting the ROAS you want, stop looking at your bid strategy for a minute and start looking at your product. Because here's the hard truth. You can have the best bid strategy in the world, but if your product looks like a low effort Shopify export and your title is just blue shirt, nobody is going to click. In 2025, Google Shopping is a visual feed. Your customer is scrolling past 15 or 20 competitors in about 3 or 4 seconds. If your image doesn't pop and your title doesn't match exactly what they're looking for, you're effectively invisible. My name is Liam, and in this video, I'm gonna roast some of the biggest D2C brands in the world. We're gonna look at their product titles and their product images, and I'm gonna show you the mistakes they're making that are costing them millions. And then I'm gonna show you how to fix them. I'll show you how we're using Gemini to take boring, flat product photos and turn them into high CTR images that stop the scroll. So let's get into it. Okay, so for any e-commerce brands, I think one of the most impactful things you can be doing is to try to increase the number of qualified clicks through Google Shopping. For me, I find that Google Shopping is most certainly on Google, and in my opinion across the whole ecosystem, one of the most scalable ways of growing an e-commerce brand. And the reason for that is that people in Google Shopping generally are in a shopping mindset. I think they're often ready to buy, and if you can convert this cohort of people quite well and quite cost efficiently, it tends to be an avenue that you can scale quite well. So if you're an e-commerce brand, I would spend 70 to 80% of your time when it comes to Google Ads focused on improving the number of qualified clicks through Google Shopping. So not just all clicks, but qualified clicks. So I'm going to talk a small bit about what's involved in increasing the number of qualified clicks through Google Shopping and what I think some of the biggest D2C brands in the world could be doing to actually improve that too. So when it comes to increasing the number of qualified clicks, there are 4 real avenues that you can take to help you improve this. So I'm going to start with the reviews. So any reviews coming through, they give you the star rating in Google Shopping. It's quite eye-catching, builds social proof, and it's a really good way of getting clicks. I've mentioned it loads of times in different videos, so I'm not going to go into too much detail on it now. The other thing is price. So it is essentially a price comparison site. If you've got a lower price than competitors, quite often you'll get more clicks. Now, as a brand owner, it's going to be difficult for you to adjust price too much. You obviously have your COGS, your fulfillment fees and everything like that, and your price is generally pretty locked in. The only other thing you can do is promos. So if you're running a promo of any sort, even like a first order promo, you can get these set up in Google Merchant Center so you can show those sale tags and actually really increase the attention grabbing element of your shopping listing and actually just drive some more clicks as well. So they're 2 good ways as well. But for this video, I want to focus on your product image
and your product title. So with a product image, it needs to be eye-catching. Like any creative, you have to consider this an ad creative. It needs to be eye-catching to draw clicks. It also quite often benefits from being an image that shows the product's use case or its value proposition or its USP. That's something I'll get into in a later part of the video, how you can do that. The next thing then is your product title. So your product title, when it comes over from Shopify, is just whatever product title you have in your PDP. So it integrates with Google Merchant Center and then it gets spat out into your Google Shopping listings exactly as is. Now, for a lot of people, that might be your brand name followed by the product name followed by a size. And quite often that's not enough. It doesn't give the user enough information, particularly if the user is cold, if they haven't seen your brand, they haven't interacted with your brand before, well, then they need to be given more kind of compelling reasons to click on your ad in the first place. So your product title has to grab attention. I don't mean it has to be full of buzzwords and, capital letters and things like that, but it has to be attention grabbing enough that it's either, clearly demonstrating some USPs or parts of the product that are, give you a stronger kind of value than your competitors, let's say. But more importantly than that, it needs to really outline key product category terms. So if you're selling a t-shirt, you need to fundamentally say that it's a t-shirt. I know it sounds really stupid, but I see this all the time, particularly with like skincare brands and some fashion brands as well, is that they might call their skincare product a certain product, like the Reviver and the Reviver number 5. And nowhere in that product title does it actually say what the product is. Now, Google needs to index your products. So there's two reasons you need a really solid product title. One is that Google has to index your product to make sure it's serving for the right queries. So it uses a number of different attributes, not just your product title, but I always think you should be including your product category in your product title to help Google with indexing, even though you can use things like descriptions and product categories and things like that. But the second thing then is you need to, show people what your product is. So it isn't always instinctive. You've got a very small thumbnail image and then you have a product title. And aside from that, you don't really have much more real estate to play with. So you need to make sure that your product is containing the key product category terms. So I'm going to get into that again now in a moment. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to break down 4 brands today. You're going to know all 4 of them, I'm sure, and have some recommendations over how I would improve performance for them. So I'm going to start with Represent. Now I'm recording this the week of Black Friday. Represent have a sale on at the moment, so I just search for Represent t-shirt to see if I want a new Represent tee for myself. Now, what we're seeing here is that all these images are just a plain product flat lay on plain white background. You can see the sale tag, I mentioned that earlier. You can see the reviews coming through. You can see some information about description. Here is the brand name, etc. And here is price with a slash through. You won't actually be able to see that now until I actually pull up the listing in more depth. But here is our product title, and then here obviously is our product image. So I want to start by saying what's good. So the reviews coming through is good. The promo with the active sale tag and the slash through pricing is good. And then the free delivery tag is good also. So there's a lot of things that are obviously being done good. Represent a huge brand. I'm sure they have someone actively managing this. What could be improved? Well, pretty kind of bluntly, I think the product image and also the product title could be improved. Now, you can see all these product images are essentially the same. And for a lot of high, like fashion brands or high SKU brands, it's very difficult to manage their feed effectively and kind of mix up different product images and things like that. But you can see, like, even here, it's quite difficult to see this t-shirt. It blends into the background. I don't think these give a very good representation of the t-shirt itself. Here it's like creased, and I just don't think it's showing these really premium, heavy cotton t-shirts in their best light. This doesn't scream a $125 t-shirt to me based on this product listing. So what we'll do is we'll go down here. This is the product that I'm going to focus on. This is our Represent tee. This is the exact product image from the ad. And all I did was I gave this to Gemini and I explained the scene that I wanted to set. I explained that I wanted to make sure that the image was product centric. So the product had to be the main focus. It had to take up a lot of the screen. The product could be changed in no way whatsoever. And this is what it gave me on a 1 prompt. This is it. So I don't think by any stretch this is perfect. I think the shadowing is a bit off, but you can see the
initial image is so much more elevated than this. You can see a typical, customer of Represent, I would say, someone probably in their ideal client profile wearing this. You can see it's got that kind of traditional Represent kind of boxy fit, slightly oversized. And you can see I asked for it to be in kind of a street background, kind of in a dusky setting, and that's what it gave me. As I said, it's not perfect, but it's a much, much greater step up than this. And it gives me an indication of what this t-shirt might look like on. And I'd be much more likely to click through this, particularly if it wasn't just Represent tees here, but if it was Represent's competitors. So if there were other competitors here and they all had this plain product flat lay and I had this product image that really stood out, I would be much more inclined to click on this. Now, I want to stress during this video, this isn't a case of me saying this is bad from this brand and this is better. There's lots of context that I'm not seeing. I'm not managing these accounts, but I'm just trying to help you apply some kind of first principles about how you can improve your click-through rate and what you can do very easily. By the way, these are not things that are very labor intensive. Okay, it can be, and it isn't just a case of okay, we're going to change this once and then all of a sudden it's going to be fixed. But these are the kind of little shifts you need to make on Google that quite often, I would say 90% of people are not making, that can actually really improve your performance. Because quite often what I see with Google is people fixated on what I'm going to call outputs, which is probably a bit of a misnomer, but changing bid strategies, changing budgets, changing bids, things like that inside the ad account, when actually what's much more important is changing inputs. So your product feed, your keywords, your creative, your landing pages, that's what I would class as your inputs. And they're going to have a much more profound effect than any little kind of bid strategy tweaks or device adjustments or anything like that. So this is kind of what I'm just trying to instill into people, is that really focusing on these inputs and kind of putting in a bit of graft and a bit of elbow grease will actually have a much greater impact for you. So then next up, I mentioned the title could be improved as well. So let's get into that. So first of all, the title is too short. So for context, you get 150 characters on Google Merchant Center for the product title. You can only see about 70 characters initially without clicking through to the actual full product listing. So those 70 characters on the front end are the most important because they're the ones that most people are going to see, and they're going to encourage people to then kind of click through and look at the remainder of the characters, etc. So what I would do to make it that bit better is to broaden the catchment on key terms. So what do I describe as a key term here? Well, oversized men's tee, 100% cotton heavy tee, slightly oversized t-shirt, premium cotton tee. So we don't want to repeat all these keywords, but these are all really important terms, particularly the oversized men's tee. So oversized men's tee from Represent, 100% heavy cotton t-shirt, slightly oversized fit, premium fit, elegance in motion. Now, the thing is here, we have elegance in motion t-shirt, jet black. Now, you could include jet black if you want. You should definitely include it in your description and in your product attributes for color in Merchant Center. But I would argue that the customer can see it's black. Now, you might argue then, well, maybe it's navy, maybe it's black. If the customer is looking for a black t-shirt. Okay, fine. That's a reasonable argument to make and you could include it. But you should definitely be including things like oversized men's tee, because this is something that a lot of people are searching for. I know this because I've just done the keyword kind of search volume on it. And it's something that we want to be pulling this particular product in for. So into this kind of search query mix. And then some other features. It's 100% cotton, it's a heavy tee, it's premium cotton. We need to justify the higher price point because we're probably going to come in at a higher price point here than competitors. So we need to justify that. We need to talk about being premium. Elegance in motion t-shirt doesn't really mean anything. It might sound nice, but if I'm cold traffic, I've never heard of Represent. Elegance in motion doesn't really mean anything to me. And I know it's a t-shirt. I can tell it's a t-shirt. I can kind of tell it's jet black. So I don't think this title is doing enough to A, broaden catchment to bring in more relevant terms, and then B, to actually, of those relevant terms, to increase the number of qualified clicks. So we want to have a title like this, right, that brings in more qualified clicks and then also encourages those people to click. So brings in, more qualified eyes and then encourages them to click. So that's the two functions of our title. And together with our image like this, I think this is a much greater step up. Now, you can disagree in the comments if you want, but I would definitely be testing something like this. And as I said earlier, look, I don't have the context on what's going on behind
the closed doors of Represent inside in their PPC account, but these are just some recommendations I would have that I think you should be applying to your own brand. Next up is bulk powders. So I reckon a lot of people should be familiar with this. The product I'm looking at are their everyday super greens. So essentially these are just full of kale and broccoli and apple, and you mix it up in a powder and it becomes a drink that you drink obviously every day. And it's basically like an immunity kind of boost and things like that. So what you have here, what's good? It's product centric. That's the image I'm referring to. Basically, the only thing you can see here is the product itself. And the title contains super greens, which is obviously a key term for them. Now, what could be improved? I said the image isn't particularly eye-catching. So again, I'm always looking through the lens of cold traffic. And when you set it up correctly, I think it's a very good vehicle to go after cold traffic. If you're familiar with bulk powders and you know them, and maybe you've bought from them before, you've seen a Facebook ad, well then they've got a very distinctive branding, I would say. So showing off their branding in this fashion is a good thing. It will probably catch your eye and you might be inclined to click through. But if you're cold, as let's say I am in this instance, I've no allegiance to bulk. It means nothing to me. It looks exactly the same as the product next door. So what I also think could be improved is not only make the image more eye-catching, but also the title could be improved. It's very, very short. Again, it's not really benefit focused. Like 300 grams could be better replaced, as I think, with number of servings. 300 grams to me, I don't know how many servings that is. Is that one serving? Is that 50 servings? So I'm kind of mentally trying to figure out what I'm getting at that price point as well. Again, going back to the price comparison side of things. So once again, I just use Gemini to just spice this up really quickly. One prompt like that. I'm not going back refining this. If I was, I could make them much better, etc. But just to give you an idea of what's capable with the software that's out there at the moment. This was all I did. Very simple. It doesn't really give you much more information. It shows the drink poured out. It shows the different components. So the broccoli, the apple, the powder is there. It's just a bit of it brings it up a small bit in terms of elegance. It catches the eye. It's more visually appealing, and it's, in my opinion, going to increase click-through rates once again. So that's the product image, and then the product title. So some recommendations I would have. I would still try and keep super greens in there. I think it's important, and I'd lead with it. So super greens powder. Again, I search volume here and it's pretty high. So some of the benefits then. So it's a daily boost. It gives you immunity, energy, and fitness. Contains 50 vitamins, minerals, and mushroom complex, 60 servings. And we can say once again towards the end it's from bulk powders. Now, again, by no means perfect, but you can see it's a step up. It's probably going to pull some more information in for, greens powder for immunity, or greens powder for energy, or daily greens for full of vitamins and things like that. So it's going to increase our catchment. It's hopefully going to increase our click-through rate by having some more kind of relevant terms. And as I said, it also contains the serving quantity as well, just to give people that framing of how much they're probably going to pay for a serving as well. So they are a couple of things that I do with bulk to improve that. Next up then, we've got Hexclad. I'm sure everyone's familiar with Hexclad. This is what I searched for. I think I searched for like a stainless steel frying pan or something, and a few competitors came up. And you can see what's good here is that Hexclad have made the effort, and this is actually, there's continuity on their landing page as well. You can see everything they do is kind of like dark background, and it just stands out enough compared to the other listings here. I don't think it's phenomenal by any stretch of the imagination, but it is just decent enough that it looks slightly different and is kind of drawing the eye a small bit. Other things that are good, you've obviously got the promo here. I'd be able to see it a bit easier if I kind of click through with the sale tag. We have details on the free shipping. We have our reviews. So not a bad listing by any stretch. But what I think could be improved once again is I think this image could definitely be improved. And I think this is actually a market where I'm not seeing a whole lot of testing whatsoever from all the other competitors. And also the title, very short. This is it. There's nothing else there. You can see the competitors actually have a longer title, and it is not very benefit focused, or doesn't outline any features either as well. So this is our product image as it stands. This is a one click on Gemini. I asked for it just to have a sizzling pan with a steak in it. I don't think it's fantastic, but I do think it's a step up. But then I said, you know what I'll do? I'll actually go onto their product page and just see if they got any professional product imagery. I'm sure they paid thousands upon thousands for a studio shoot. And sure enough, they do. So this, to me, is a significant step up from this. And it also shows one of the value propositions. So what I said earlier in the video was that you can use these lifestyle images to show off some of your USPs or your value props. And one of them here is that this is safe for use with metalware. And you can actually see that with this metal spatula being used. So Something very kind of nuanced, but if someone's in a a real kind of research phase and they have lots of questions or lots of understanding about the type of frying pan they want, then they can just mentally flag this, and it might just be enough to draw their eye and draw their click. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do. We're trying to get some marginal gains here and there. So with the title, some recommendations I'd have to change it. So as I said, look, you can see how short it is. So I search for a stainless steel frying pan, and if we led with that, my eye would be definitely drawn to that. It's a non-stick pan, it's metalware safe. It's also got a lifetime guarantee. We can still include that it's 8 inches for those people that are looking specifically for a smaller pan. It's a hybrid frying pan. I don't quite understand what that means, but perhaps someone who's in a buying phase would know what that means. Maybe you can use it across different kind of food types and things. And we can still include Hexclad here, but again, I know it's different for these brands that have really high brand equity, but generally every brand should be trying to appeal to cold traffic. If these ads are only serving to warm traffic, that's fine. You can front load the brand name because of that brand equity, that brand recognition. People will click through if they know it's from Hexclad, that's fine. But if you're going after cold customers, which I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this video are trying to do, then you don't want to be leading with that, because it's not really giving customers or potential customers any real value, to be honest. And that's not a slight in your brand or your brand name, but it kind of means nothing to people if they haven't heard from you before. So next up, and the only thing I'm going to focus on here is the image, because I think so much can be done with the image. This brand is Cotopaxi, I believe is the correct pronunciation. But essentially what they are is like a travel kind of brand, and they focus mainly on backpacks for travelers and hikers and that kind of aesthetic and that type of kind of buyer profile. And this is the product image. So you can see the product image here is pretty bland, pretty vague. And then I actually just went onto their Instagram, and like their Instagram is very travel centric. You can see all this, like the aesthetic is very clear of what they're going for, who they're trying to appeal to, and even on the website there's kind of continuity in that. But then when you go back to the product image, it kind of doesn't really tell you anything. It's just a plain bag. Could be a child's bag, to be honest. Looking at the colors and things like that, I wouldn't necessarily say, okay, this is a bag for kind of traveling. And again, they're kind of relying on their brand name here. They say travel pack, okay, but beyond that, I don't really know much about it. So what we can do straight away to try and attract that ideal customer persona that they're clearly trying to do on organic, so I assume this is something that they're actively trying to do across the board, is just something like this. This, once again, and I'm not sure if the proportions are off. I probably should have fed it like a reference lifestyle image from the website of this exact bag, but to my understanding, this actually size-wise, it looks quite big, but I think it is quite a big bag. But like, look at the kind of aesthetic of this. It's much more in keeping with who their ideal customer is. And once again, like when you compare this image, and you could even look at making it like here and down to here, and like still keeping the product like centric and taking up most of the space, while still having that element of, okay, I can see myself using this bag when I go to X place, or I'm going on my holidays and I want a bag for that. And, I can see myself in this product image. And then they're brought through, and then that kind of continuity of messaging and who the bag is actually for is on the website. And I just think that would do a much better job than something like this that just doesn't really speak to anyone. It's very just matter of fact. And I think a lot of brands get stuck in the idea that Google Shopping is just kind of a plug and play, when in fact it's so much more than that. And if you spent a quarter as much time on Google Shopping creative as you did on your kind of Facebook ads creative, you'd actually probably see better returns. And I know that's very speculative to say, but I think there's such an upside to spending a bit of time or investing a little bit of time and money in something like this. But as I said, this was one prompt on Gemini Nano Banana Pro. It's the only thing I'm using. You can even see like the text here is perfect. The text down here is perfect. So I haven't been able to achieve that with any other models aside from the new Gemini that got released on I'm going to say the 22nd of November. So I would really recommend using that. Get the Pro version, it's much better. And start testing these product images. This is like kind of an example prompt I used. Once again, I didn't actually invest a lot of time into this. This was only done for the purposes of the video, but I gave it some instructions as to what it was. I said the highest possible click-through rate is the goal here, while adhering to our guidelines. I'm going to give them the product flat lay, for example, make sure that, we maintain absolute fidelity around the color, the shape, the logos, etc. And then make sure the product is focused centrally, Then the scene, the kind of lifestyle context, this is where you can kind of change it as to whatever you want. A small bit, the same with the kind of lighting or the mood. The negative constraints then are obviously no text overlays. We don't want any watermarks, promo badges, borders, extra graphics of any kind. We want to just make this really focused on the product. And then some of the tech specs then for the aspect ratio to be square, and then the quality so we can have really high quality. This is basically all I did for the prompt. It was very straightforward. As I said, I used it once across each of these brands to deliver, product images like this, product images like that, and here as well. So, and then lastly, obviously the represent one too. So you can see this is a really untapped market for a lot of D2C brands. Even the biggest brands in the space seem to be neglecting it. And like, you can see the difference. It didn't take a photo shoot, and it didn't take a massive budget, and it took me very little effort. And when you improve your click-through rate with better product images like these, with more enticing product titles, you're increasing your ad rank. So you're actually going to serve higher up the auction. You'll probably serve for even lower bids, and the economics will start to make much more sense because Google will value your ad as being higher quality because it's getting more clicks than competitors. So it's almost like the opposite of a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle for your competitors, but it's a really positive feedback loop for you as a brand owner. All right, so I've shown you how to make better product images for Google Shopping, but now I want to peel back the curtain on our exact workflow. At our agency, we use Gemini's Nano Banana Pro to make visually stunning images that stop the scroll on Google Shopping. I'm going to walk you through the entire process step by step to show you exactly how we do it for our clients. If you want quicker results, keep watching because this will save you hours of your time. Let me show you why your Google Shopping ads are being ignored. Look at this travel neck pillow ad from Uncommon Goods. Boring product shot, zero emotional connection, and blends in with every other competitor. Now look at what I created in under 5 minutes using Google's new Nano Banana Pro. Which one would you click? Today I want to show you my entire workflow that takes dead product images and turns them into ads that drive qualified clicks and actually converts using Gemini 3.0 Pro. I'll share the exact workflow, the precise prompts that I used, and everything in real-time action. This isn't just about making prettier pictures. This is about understanding fundamental buyer psychology and leveraging AI to create the emotional trigger that makes people stop scrolling and start buying. So let's get into it. So in our agency, lifestyle images has always been fundamental to our success when it comes to Google Shopping. And then with each new AI tool that came out, we started leveraging them more and more and more. But Gemini 3.0 dropped Nano Banana Pro, and we saw some crazy stuff online right off the bat, and we said we had to try it out. So it's really new, and what we've been using it for in new accounts has been lifestyle images with shopping ads. We've actually had a ton of other uses for it as well, but we've been using it in image generation with this new Gemini model. These are the results for our newest client. They came on board with us just 10 days ago or so, and we're kind of only 7 days into our campaigns. So the first thing that we wanted to do was look at their hero product on Google Shopping. They're an apparel company, and we wanted to see if we could enhance their product image to drive more qualified clicks. So look, it's only 7 days. It's not a whole lot of data, but it is really exciting from our side, and it's something I wanted to share. So look, obviously what's really beneficial is that immediate spike in CTR. And just for context, this is on a background of no other significant changes to the listing itself. Product title remains the same. The reviews were always coming through. We haven't changed any promotions or anything like that. So basically their click-through rate has gone from 0.65% to 1.12%. Cost as a result has gone up because we're driving more qualified traffic. Conversions are up, conversion value is up, and even ROAS is up as well. So what we're seeing here is a higher volume of impressions, an increased CTR, and that's leading to increased conversion volume, but also notably increased efficiency. So that's such a sweet place to be, where you're seeing more conversions come through, but also at a higher efficiency as well. So the issue with plain product images, and this was an issue long before Gemini dropped this model. It's been an issue when ChatGPT dropped the image gen. It's been an issue before that. But if you're using plain product images, for me, it's just a really big missed opportunity within shopping ads. The reason for that is that your products look identical. So your ads blend in alongside competitor ads. What this creates is essentially a race to the bottom on price. Now, Google Shopping Shopping is by virtue a price comparison site, but there's ways and means of being more creative to drive more qualified clicks, even if you might not have the most competitive price. But if you don't have the most competitive price, then you need to work harder to get those clicks. Now, if you're using plain product images, I would argue that you are not working harder and you don't deserve those qualified clicks. Another thing is that plain product images just lack emotional appeal. It's very hard to convey any real sense of emotion or any real use scenarios that can create the emotional triggers needed to click. So depending on the type of products that you are selling, there are so many different emotions that you want to be tapping into. And you just simply can't do that with plain product images. The next thing then is you can showcase quality. So plain product images, they flatten each product to the same level of perceived quality. It's very difficult to look at one product versus another in the small thumbnail style ads on Google Shopping and say, okay, that product actually looks higher quality when you're just using these plain product images or maybe a product flat lay. So you can't show off any key details that differentiate you from competitors and maybe again justify a slightly higher price point. So in this video, I want to show you a real example, the complete workflow using a brand called Uncommon Goods. They are not a client of ours. We don't work with them. I just took them for demonstration purposes. The product I'm choosing today is a travel neck pillow. So not something that's incredibly exciting or, immediately aesthetically pleasing to think of. And I didn't want to pick something nice and, vibrant and skincare or apparel that's always easy to kind of glamorize with, any AI image. I wanted to show you how you can do this, even if you have boring products and quote unquote boring. So the target audience here is gift giving moms. The reason for that is they have made a concerted effort to actually focus on travel gear for her. And then this is Christmas gifts and gifts for mom. So I can tell that they're trying to target some gifting terms around the, gifts for mother at Christmas time. So the workflow that I want to discuss today starts with describing our target audience in detail. So what I want to do here, I have a very clear idea in my head of the type of image that I want to create, but I don't want to just give Gemini or any model for that instance a one prompt and hope for the best. I want to create something that actually makes sense and put a really good prompt together so that when I create a new chat and I give it a new prompt, so the curated complete prompt, it will then be able to produce something of really high quality, exactly what I'm looking for, and there's no back and forth. So this is exactly how you do it. So describe our target audience in detail. A 40 to 55-year-old professional woman. She has dark shoulder length hair with a general sophisticated look. She has a pleasant and warm expression. Her style is classic, timeless and chic. The next thing that we're going to want to do is describe our aesthetic. So how do we want our image to feel? So for this, you can come up with something yourself. You might have an idea of how you want your brand portrayed. You might have a brand book and this might be very simple for you. I don't have a brand book for this particular brand. I don't know what they actually want to convey, but I looked at brands in the space or slightly similar verticals, but I landed on Casper, the mattress and bedding company. And the reason I landed on them was I felt that they had a really clean, really kind of comfortable, kind of cozy aesthetic. And as such, it was something that I wanted to mirror on our ads. So in Gemini, I gave it a series of Casper product images that I liked. And I asked Gemini to describe the vibe or the aesthetic. And it came back and it said it's cozy, modern comfort, serene relaxation. So what I did then was I took some of that and I just kept it on file. It basically said, in essence, it is the aesthetic of a premium, well-rested lifestyle with a focus on minimalist, functional comfort. And I really liked that. And that was the aesthetic that I wanted to go to for our images. The next thing that I wanted to do was describe the setting. So I said the setting is a commercial aircraft in a premium economy seat next to the window. Plane's interior is clean and sleek, and there is a warm light coming through the window from the outside sky. The plane is peaceful and serene, and my model is sleeping with the use of the neck pillow. I didn't use Gemini for that. These are my own words. I wanted to be very clear in the setting I wanted to create. Now, if you're not sure on the exact setting that you're looking to create, you can always ask Gemini, tell it what you're trying to do and say, what would be some suitable settings? There's a few things you'll have to focus on. I'll go through the prompts in more detail shortly, and it will give you a better indication of the type of things that you need to be focusing on. So the next thing that we want to do is create the image prompt itself. So this is creating the prompt that we will give to our graphic designer, Gemini. So this prompt is going to be more of a workflow with a series of steps We will be asked to provide our answers from step 1 to 3 during this process. Now, I won't go into the full details of the prompt. This document will be available. It will be linked in the description below. I highly recommend you download it. I will have the full prompts here. I'm not gatekeeping anything. This is what I've been using. By the time I've released this video, maybe we'll have something new. It's always the way with AI, but up to this point, I found these prompts really helpful and have been, the reason that we've seen such immediate results with this new brand. But with this prompt, it's going to understand some key things about Google Shopping best practices. And then I told it, this is my workflow. Okay, so I created this new chat in Gemini and I dropped in my prompt. And Gemini said it understood the mission perfectly and wanted to begin the workflow. So phase 1 was style ingestion. So to ensure we nail the aesthetic from the start, please share your style reference details. And our style reference details is our aesthetic or the vibe that we're going for. And you remember from Casper, we were told that the vibe was a premium, well-rested lifestyle with a focus on minimalist functional comfort. And then the workflow understood that, it locked in the style reference, and then product ingestion was next. So it asked me to give the product that we were focusing on. So I gave it the plain product and I also gave it one of a model using the product as well. I described what the product was just to make sure that there was no confusion around that. And it analyzed the product and understood it was an ergonomic U-shaped neck pillow. It understood the key feature was the distinct raised side profile. It was the critical differentiator here. That was great. I was happy with everything here, and it moved on to the next part, which was the strategy ingestion, which is please provide the ideal customer profile details, which I just dropped in. We had discussed already. It was a 40 to 55-year-old professional woman. She was chic and timeless and then travels a lot due to her work and didn't want to be suffering with neck pain on a flight. So it understood all this, and then it gave me 3 options. It said the first class experience, which I didn't really like. The second option then was more functional comfort, and then the third option was travel ready. And I went with the option 2, the functional comfort. And I said, ensure the woman is in premium economy window seat with warm uplifting lighting and setting. Remember, the product must make up all of the shot. This is an excellent choice, and it gave me back my full prompt here. We have our curated prompt. This is our prompt that we are going to give a new Gemini chat. I always prefer to open up a brand new Gemini chat rather than trying to create this image in the chat that I was actually messing around with and trying to get to the image generation prompt. I always find that it's better to take that final prompt and actually put it into a clean chat. So open up a new Gemini 3.0 chat, and then I have another prompt here ready to go that basically instructs the chat that it is an AI product photographer and 3D render artist specializing in high conversion Google Shopping ads. So I dropped in this prompt, told Gemini that it was this 3D render artist specialist, and it understood the prompt, and then it asked me for the product reference image. I gave it the product that we wanted to focus on, and once again I told it that it was a U-shaped ergonomic neck pillow with a raised side. It said it understood what the product was, it had locked in the physical properties, and it was ready to receive our final prompt. So I gave it the final prompt that we had taken from our other chat, and here we are. This is what it gave me. Didn't quite like this though. The reason I didn't like it, it was almost perfect, but I just felt that I wanted the product to be more centric, and I didn't like that the product was cut out. So this is something that's I've since added to my prompt, and I'm being very open. No prompt is a final masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination, but I said the product is slightly out of shot. I need all of the product to be in shot, and this very simply is what it produced, and I absolutely love this. Very simplistic. The product is taking up basically all of the frame. I can zoom in even further. It gives me exactly what I was looking for. So as I said, this is the result. So we've gone from this to this, and that took me less than 5 minutes. I had all my prompts ready. I have been doing this for a little bit of time. I've been messing around with Gemini, and it took me next to no time at all. So not only have we gone from this boring product image, we can't see it in use, it's on a white background, very difficult to appreciate anything about it. We now have this product image, which is targeted towards the customer that we are going after. So we know we're going after more of a middle-aged demo. This is gifts for mom. This is travel neck pillows for her. Now we're seeing this in action. We're seeing this uplifting scene. We're seeing a scene of serenity, of comfort, of coziness, etc. All the things that we want our customer to experience when they buy our product. And this is now conveyed much more in a lifestyle image like this than it ever could be in this plain product image. And look at it in the feed. We've gone from this, where we're not standing out at all, we're no different. We are second highest priced item here. And we've now gone to this. We've made no other changes. Look how much that sticks out. And it doesn't stick out for the wrong reasons. It sticks out for the right reasons. It's aesthetically pleasing. It speaks to our ideal client persona for this product and is going to drive much higher qualified clicks. And then for an extra boost, this is their PDP that I'm taking to. Okay, so you see the plain product here. You see one more product image here. You see the product being used here. And then, sorry, you've one additional one also. Now, I would argue that these models are quite young and they are maybe not an exact match of who we're targeting. And I also think that there just isn't enough being done really on this product page to show off anything about the product. They could be talking about more features. There's a whole host of other things I think could be done with the H1 to match who we're targeting. But I went away and created all these product images. And collectively, they took me, again, less than 10 minutes because I had everything loaded up already. And I just said I wanted different scenes. I wanted another scene, but slightly more elevated. This is, premium economy. It could be first class. This is more of a UGC picture of our ICP using the product. Another image here of the product in use. A couple of images here that are just slightly more aesthetic. And then one of a gift giving here. Adding product images like this is going to have a profound impact. It's going to raise your conversion rate, but that's going to feed back then to Google's signals. Google is going to understand that people have a positive experience when they click through your shopping ads. They are going on to complete a purchase. So Google rewards you. It says, okay, you must have a really positive experience on site, a really positive ad experience in total. So we're going to reward you with cheaper clicks, higher up in the search engine results page. I've said it before, it's the opposite of a vicious cycle. It's a nice feedback loop that works time and time again. And this is all coming with very little effort from Gemini once you know what exactly it is you should be doing. So there you have it, the complete Gemini workflow for turning boring product images into high CTR shopping ads. That's all about Nano Banana Pro, and that brings an end to our part on feed optimization. So we've covered how to set up Merchant Center, how to optimize your feed, and how to make brilliant product images. Now it's time for the fun part, setting up your campaign step by step. Before we jump in, if you haven't grabbed the free Google Shopping Handbook by now, it's available via the link in the description below. Everything we're covering, all the setups, all the optimizations, all the checklists, they're all inside. But without further ado, let's jump into the next video where we're going to set the campaign up step by step. Most Google Shopping campaigns fail before they even get a chance to work, simply because the setup is wrong. Google Shopping ads are the single best way to drive highly qualified traffic to your website, but only if you do it the right way, so that Google can push the right products to the right people. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Liam. I'm founder of Vulcan. We're a premier Google Ads agency for e-commerce brands, and our team have generated millions in revenue using Google Shopping ads and this exact framework that I'm about to show you today. So with that said, let's get right into the video. So inside in Google Ads, we're going to click on this blue plus button to create a new campaign. And the first question will be asked is, what's our campaign objective? We can either choose sales here, as we will be looking to create a shopping campaign to generate sales on our e-commerce website, or else we can actually create a campaign without guidance, which is fine too, because it doesn't actually have any effect on your campaign settings later on. Select a campaign type. So the campaign we are going to select today is shopping. We then want to ensure that our conversion goal is set to purchase. If we are an e-commerce store or Shopify store, we want to make sure that our conversion tracking is set up correctly. Without that, none of our campaigns will work well at all. The next thing that we're going to do is add products to this campaign. To advertise products on your website, select a Merchant Center account. So your Merchant Center account should already be linked to your Google Ads account. When you click on this button here, it will bring up your Merchant Center account. Click on that and you'll be able to start running some products through this shopping ad. Next up, you'll be asked to select a campaign subtype, and this is the first of Google's sneaky tricks when it comes to setting up a campaign. Google is going to encourage you to set up a Performance Max campaign. Now, a Performance Max campaign contains shopping ads, but it also contains search ads. video ads, display, discover ads. So it's all across Google's ecosystem. So if you are just looking to run shopping ads, it's not the best approach. So for this video, we're clicking standard shopping campaign, and we're going to create a shopping campaign, and we're going to create it for our best sellers. So the next thing that we're going to want to do is give it a daily budget, an average daily budget, the amount it's going to spend on average per day. There is an option here to give our campaign a total budget over a set duration, but because we want to keep this campaign running indefinitely, as long as we're seeing results, we're just going to set an average daily budget. And for the purpose of the video, I'm going to say $50. Next up is your bidding strategy. And I have a video on the channel where I go in depth into different bidding strategies, when it makes sense to run manual bid strategies versus smart bidding strategies. I'm going to link it up here. And for this step-by-step shopping campaign video, I'll give you a brief synopsis of bid strategies and which ones I recommend. So if you're starting out in a new account, you're advertising new products, it's a new campaign, well then I recommend running either manual CPC or maximize clicks. The reason for that is your conversion pixel doesn't have a lot of data, it doesn't know much about your products, your brand, your customers, etc. And because of that, if you were to opt for smart bidding, you could expect really choppy initial performance because smart bidding doesn't have that conversion data to learn from. If you are in a well-seasoned account, if your conversion pixel, for example, has seen a lot of traffic and a lot of volume through those products that you are looking to advertise, well then you could actually theoretically jump straight to smart bidding. And the way you would do that in shopping is via target ROAS bidding. But for this, I am going to select manual CPC, assuming it is a new account, it is a new set of products that we're advertising. And then next up, I am going to bid equally for new and existing customers, and we can keep campaign priority to low. Something to be aware of if you are looking to run a non-branded shopping campaign, which a lot of people will be, and you also have a branded shopping campaign, then you will look to change the priority levels of this non-branded campaign. You will look to set this to high, and you would then add a negative branded keyword list. I actually have another video on the channel all about that. And in that instance, then your branded shopping campaign would be set to a low priority. We'll just assume we are setting up one standard shopping campaign. It's not branded, it's more so non-branded. For location options, we are going to advertise in the US. This is the second of Google's sneaky tactics, and it is this option here. So in presence or interest, people regularly in or who've shown interest in your included locations. Google recommends this setting as opposed to presence only, which is people in or regularly in your included locations. Now, I'm not currently based in the US, but Google would deem me as having a really strong interest in the US. I'm always looking at news in the US, economics. I'm looking at businesses in the US, understanding advertising in the US. So I spend a lot of my time online in the US space. So Google will put me down as someone who's interested in the US. And then as a result of this default setting, I could theoretically be served ads for this United States location. Now, if you're an e-commerce brand and you only ship to the US and you don't ship internationally, well, then you're definitely not going to want to advertise to someone like myself, who is currently based internationally away from the US and is not someone that you will be able to ship product to. So make sure you change that to presence. We'll keep local products turned off. We'll say no to EU political campaigns. And then inside more settings, the only other thing then, I would turn off Google search partners and just focus on Google search, as I just find it slightly more efficient. The only other thing here, just to be careful of, is don't select an end date for your campaign. So if you select an end date for a month's time, and then you wake up one morning and you look to review your shopping campaign performance and it stopped running, well, it could be because you set an end date and then forgot about it. So instead of that, you're actually much better off just having it on indefinitely. And if you do want to turn it off, you just make the conscious decision then to pause that campaign. Next up, we are going to give our ad group a name. So we can just call it Shopping Bestsellers. What we'll do next is enter our cost per click bid for our ad group. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the keyword research tool in Google Ads to actually try and get an estimate of where is a good place to start my initial bid, so that I'm competitive enough that I'm able to enter auctions initially, but not so much so that I'm overpaying for clicks from the get-go. Let's say I'm selling microphones. I've got one in front of me here, microphones for podcast. Let's have a look and see what the results are like for that. So I can see 22,000 average monthly searches. I have a brand here, so Shure, which is actually the one I'm using at the moment. But I can refine this and I can actually look over here and just say, I don't want any brands or any sites like that included, and get a sense of, or any other brands as well. I can actually just get a sense of, okay, microphones for podcast, best podcast microphone, podcast mic, best mic for podcasting. So what I'm seeing here is a bid range between 40 cents at the low range and say $1.95 at the high end. So this would be on the search network, what you could expect to pay on the search network. Generally, shopping placements are a little bit cheaper, 20-30% I find on average. Now, I wouldn't actually be averse to starting my bids in and around this initial place, so 40 to maybe 60 cents. I think that would be a reasonable place to start. It might be coming in a little too low, but it's always better to come in a little too low and then gradually increase your bids as you're getting more confident, you're cleaning up your traffic, etc. For now, I'll just set it to 50 cent. And next up are product groups. So by default, this will be set to all products, in which case this shopping campaign will serve all of our products. But if I want to filter it, I can use a selection of products. So I can filter by things like category, brand, item ID, conditions, so new or used, product type, or things like custom labels. So if you are very familiar with shopping and Google Merchant Center in general, you would know that custom labels are a really useful way for tagging some of your products, either by tagging them as high margin products, seasonality, so it could be like a winter collection or a summer collection if you're a clothing or apparel company. It could be to do with best sellers, so that would be very useful in this instance if we were tagging some of our best selling products as best sellers in custom label 0. Well, then we could just go ahead and click custom label 0 and that would actually pull in our best sellers. But let's say we're not doing any of that. We actually just want to go and manually look through our catalog and select a series of our best sellers. And let's just say it's this 3 products here. I'm going to go ahead and click on save and click on next. So it tells me my campaign is ready to publish. I have my budget, what bidding we're on, my location. I have my product groups, my bid. Yeah, I'm happy here. So I can go ahead and publish this campaign. And then the next thing that we are going to want to do is go to our product groups. Our product group is essentially the list of our products that are serving. And you can see down this left-hand side here, you've got green buttons or green circles. These indicate that the products are active and that we would be serving them. So you have all products kind of blurred out here because we've subdivisions. Subdivisions down here are the 3 best-selling products. And then we have something called everything else in all products. And Google, the kind of third sneaky thing that they do is leave this active, even though we wanted to only select a series of products. So what we actually have to do is come over here and manually exclude those, because if we don't, Google will start running traffic to those products as well, even though we have called this our bestseller campaign. We were consciously looking to only focus on 3 products. So from there, then you can have a couple of other optimizations. You can do things like turning down bids on tablets. They tend to be slightly less efficient. Some people recommend doing that from the start. Sometimes I do it. It depends on the account maturity. The other thing that I would recommend doing, if this is a non-branded campaign, well, then you can add your brand negative keyword list here to ensure that you're not serving for any brand queries. Then it's up to yourself whether or not you want to create a dedicated branded shopping campaign to defend against competitors on your brand. The other thing then would be having a universal negative keyword list on terms you never want to serve for. So that could be terms like returns or warranty or contact. They may be things that you are happy for your organic listing to do and you don't really want to be paying money to serve ads to those people. And that is it. That is your shopping campaign set up. All the settings that you need to follow in order to waste as little ad spend as possible from the get-go. So the more focused your campaign is from the start, the more efficient it will be from the start and the easier it will be to scale that campaign with time.
All right, congratulations, your campaign is live. But here's the problem. Most people launch their shopping campaigns and then just wait. They hope the algorithm figures it out. That's not how you get results. Keep watching because I'm going to show you exactly how we optimize our campaigns week after week for consistent, predictable growth. So let's dive right in. If your Google shopping ads are getting clicks but not sales, the problem isn't always your products. It's often how the account is managed. Even with the perfect feed, bad account decisions can kill performance. In this video, I'll show you how to optimize your Google shopping campaigns from an account management point of view, what to change inside in Google Ads, how to structure your campaigns, and how to push budget towards what actually drives revenue. So with that said, let's get into the video. So when I talk about campaign optimizations in Google Shopping, I always start by talking about campaign structure. Now, with campaign structure, the first recommendation I always have is to have a clear delineation between branded and non-branded campaigns. So I have a separate video on this, but just the general overview of how you set this up is you have a branded shopping campaign that's set to low priority and set to a really high target ROAS because conversion rate is going to be quite high. Your CPCs are going to be quite low. So generally you'll see a really high actual ROAS here with these campaigns. And then you'll have non-branded shopping campaigns, which will be set to high or medium priority with more modest target ROAS goals, more so in keeping with what you'd expect from non-branded traffic. Then you use a series of negative keyword lists of day-to-day optimizations. You then need to ensure that other aspects of your branded and non-branded shopping campaigns are mirroring each other to ensure the integrity of this split or this delineation. And I cover all that in my dedicated branded shopping video. From there, my next overarching principle when it comes to campaign structure is all about making sure our top performing products, those which will push greatest volume, revenue, profit, that they are getting adequate budget. Thereafter, how you structure your campaigns is going to depend on a few different factors like your budget, the number of
products you have, the type of business it is that you run, and obviously the general goals for your business as well. Now, I'm going to get straight into some of my favorite structures. This is not an exhaustive list. I don't have a cut and paste for every business. You have to understand that there's so much at play when it comes to determining a good structure, but these are some of my favorites that I've used to really high degrees of success in 2026. So the best sellers approach. So obviously for a lot of e-commerce brands, a small selection of your products will drive a really high amount of revenue. So a lot of times it's 20% of your products is driving 80% of your revenue. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. In that instance, it's really important that those 20% of products are getting adequate budget. So one way that you can ensure they're getting adequate budget and that they are getting prioritized is by isolating them into their own best sellers campaign. Now that best sellers campaign can get a high priority status in Google Shopping to ensure that basically it's prioritized first in auctions. Anytime it's eligible in an auction, one of those products is pushed out first. Now, I would exclude that campaign from serving on branded queries using a branded negative keyword list. You could then set a secondary non-branded campaign for basically all of your other products that aren't your bestsellers. So kind of like a catch-all, set that to medium priority, and then once again, also add to your branded negative keyword list. The next campaign that you would have would be your branded shopping campaign. It will cover the entirety of your catalog, set to low priority, really high target ROAS, as I said. And that's just a really clear way of making that split between branded and non-branded traffic. It just makes it easier to actually interpret performance of these non-branded campaigns. So that is one way that you could separate out your standard shopping campaigns when it comes to that typical hero product e-commerce business that maybe you have, 2 to 5 leading products and you want to push those first with their own dedicated budget. Well, then you could use some form of a split like this. Another alternative that is working quite well, obviously at the moment we're in December at the time of recording this video, is seasonality. So particularly for fashion and apparel brands, or also for gift giving brands. So if you have a really strong gift giving brand, you'll actually notice that there are tons of individual events or promotions. So like even coming up, you'll have like Valentine's, you'll have like a back to school in some places, you'll have Mother's Day, Father's Day, all these kind of things. And then you'll have more evergreen products like birthday products or anniversary, things like that have no seasonality peak. So sometimes it can make sense to basically have dedicated campaigns for dedicated events or dedicated seasonal events, because it means that coming up to the event, you can gradually increase budget. You can manage the budget really closely during the event. And then also you can gradually taper that budget down after the event. So it just gives you more control, particularly important if it's a more acute event, particularly if it is something like Valentine's Day that maybe has a 2-week lead period. And then after Valentine's Day, you really want to shut it down as quick as possible. Having it in its own campaign really allows you to put that dedicated budget behind it day on day, as you have that avalanche effect coming into maybe 2 weeks, into 1 week out from the event itself. So that's for like the gift giving side. But then, as I said, for the fashion brand, you might have an autumn collection and a winter collection, and they will slightly cross over, but you will want to be gradually increasing budget to your winter collection, obviously decreasing budget to your autumn collection, and having them separate gives you that control to gradually increase one while decreasing the other. So that would be a sensible way of splitting your shopping campaigns if you are a brand as such. For new products, it is also something that I like to do if they are very distinct to existing products with a very different customer avatar. They don't really share a lot of the learnings from your other products. Well, then it probably is a good idea to separate these out into your own campaigns as well. The other thing is Google doesn't know anything about these products. It may not be as efficient at getting you those initial conversions. You may still be trying to establish product market fit, amongst other things. So in that instance, you might prefer to run more of a manual bid strategy like manual CPC, while continually then having your other campaigns running on smart bidding because they're running really proven products, high volume, etc. So that would be another time when I'd recommend splitting it up. Product categories is another one. This isn't as black and white, but let's say an example, you sell shoes for men, women's and kids. If we're starting out, we could put all these together into a single campaign and just segment them at the ad group level. And that way you can actually look at obviously performance at an ad group level. You can look at search terms at an ad group level, and you can obviously add negative keywords to different ad groups. So for example, in your men's ad group, you might add women as a negative keyword. So to ensure basically that you don't get any of that women's traffic. If you have quite a high budget, it might make more sense to separate the 3 product categories out into their own shopping campaigns. The big benefit of this, once again, is that you can control budget behind it. So sometimes if you have your shopping campaign with your different ad groups inside and they are basically set to a global target ROAS of 200, 250% or whatever the case may be, and you find that your kids product category is outperforming everything else and it's basically hogging all the spend, but you want to put money through men's and women's products as well, well then you might be forced to actually go and segment it out in order to do that. If you have a lot of budget from the get-go, maybe you can do that right away. But if not, as always, my default, as I say in other videos, is to consolidate where possible and only segment when I have a good reason to. So this is what that initial non-branded shopping campaign might look like with your different product categories at ad group level. The next thing then is margin segmentation. So some people, and I would have been in this bracket, I said it in another video, I would have been a proponent for margin-based campaign segmentation. So high margin products go into one campaign, low margin products go into a separate campaign. The theory behind this is that you can set a more aggressive, say, target ROAS to your high margin products, for example, and then a more conservative target ROAS to your low margin products. And basically it balances out then that hopefully per unit, you're achieving kind of similar profit and you're getting the most out of each individual product. The issue with that though is that quite often people will click on a product and then subsequently go on to complete a purchase of a different product on site. And if they click on a high margin product and then subsequently convert on a low margin product, well, then they will be basically in that high margin bucket with a really, aggressive target ROAS, but they've actually converted on a low margin product where we actually needed a much higher target ROAS. So that is in itself an issue. So it's not perfect. I'm using it less and less. If I see a catalog with a really, really wide variance in product margins, and I feel that it would be beneficial to split this up, something like POAS bidding, profit on ad spend, using a tool like Profit Metrics, is objectively a better course of action. It is more complex. It depends on your skill level as a media buyer, as an account manager, as a brand owner. But if you have a really wide variance in product margins, well, then maybe it is something to consider instead of the typical margin segmentation that you might hear. The next campaign segmentation approach I would take is all about query sculpting. Now, I find this works best for resellers or drop shippers, particularly high ticket drop shippers, but it involves creating a waterfall campaign structure using varying bids and priority levels. So it should always be running on manual CPC. That's something as well that's really important. So I'm actually going to jump straight into the diagram to get a kind of a sense of what's going on. So let's say we are a running brand, okay, and we are a reseller. We stock all different famous running brands, let's say really well-known brands. So Salomon is a really well-known running brand here, and our lead product that we have belonging to them is their running vest, their Act Skin 4. It's like one of their lead running vests at the moment. So we might feel that, okay, someone searching for Salomon running vest is of higher intent and more likely to convert than someone searching for a running vest. Someone searching for Salomon Act Skin 4 is even higher intent than someone searching Salomon running vest, because they obviously know the exact product it is that they're looking for. So as such, we actually want to give this a greater weighting in how we approach it. And we want to obviously give this the least weighting. So what we do basically is we set up this waterfall campaign using query sculpting, using a series of negative keyword lists, and it allows us to bid most aggressively using manual bidding for product queries like Salomon Act Skin 4, a mid-level bid for branded queries. So this is product queries, it's branded queries, and then our lowest level bid for generic queries. Now we'll have a universal negative keyword list that we always want to block across all of our shopping placements. And then what we'll use is a series of brand negative keyword lists and product like negative keyword lists here. So you can see that we have a brand list and a product list. That means if someone searches for Salomon, then it's blocked from serving here. So it goes down to the next campaign in our waterfall. Now, if they search Salomon Act Skin 4, well, Act Skin 4 would be in our product list. So it would be blocked from serving here, but then it would also be blocked from serving here in our brand queries, because we also have our product list negative keyword here. And then it would flow down into this bottom campaign, which has the highest bid level. So we're bidding most aggressively because we really value the traffic, and it has the priority settings set to such high, medium, and low, and that just helps create that waterfall integrity across the campaigns. So it is quite a complex setup, I would say. There's multiple ways you can use query sculpting. This is the most common way that I've personally used it. As I said, it works really well for resellers if you do have that really strong variance in intent across terms. If anyone has any questions or want help implementing that, then just book a call using the link in the description below. I'm more than happy to help. Now, moving on away from campaign structures. So I obviously have gone through different ones there. I've talked about using kind of best sellers, seasonality, talked about my reluctance to use margin-based segmentation. But regardless of what structure you use, you need to be able to interpret performance, because there's no point having a really good structure and then actually not not know what's going on inside it. So the basic metrics we all should know, I'm not going to run through them all, but the obvious ones are your click metrics, your performance metrics, etc. But it's actually the additional metrics inside in shopping that are the ones that are going to make the biggest difference for you when it comes to actually optimizing your campaigns. So I have them broken into kind of benchmarks and then visibility metrics, and we'll go through them there now. So you have two benchmark metrics. The first is your benchmark max CPC. Now, some of these you'll have to go into columns and actually manually add them. They won't be there by default. But your benchmark max CPC is the average maximum cost per click that other advertisers are paying in your auction for similar products. So if you find, for example, that your benchmark CPC is $2, but you're only bidding $1, well, then you know that you're not bidding at the level of, say, your top competitors who are advertising similar products. So you're likely underbidding, you're likely missing out on traffic. It could be a reason for that, but it is good knowledge to have what other people are generally paying. Your benchmark click-through rate then, so I have it here as a desirability score. If your CTR is 0.5%, but the benchmark is 1.5%, it means competitors are getting 3 times more clicks for the same impressions. So either you've got a pricing issue and people don't find your offer enticing enough to click through, or it's to do with your image or your product title. So either your product title isn't relevant enough and you're bringing in low quality traffic, or your image isn't enticing enough, or your price in order to get people to actually click through. So they are your two competitive benchmarks that you need to actually really dig into at the product group level and make sure that you are optimizing those as much as possible. Next up is market share data, or more so to do with visibility. So these tell you how much of the total demand you're capturing. So the first is your search impression share, and this is the percentage of times your ads were shown out of the total number of times they could be shown. So it's obviously a percentage metric. So a 20% IS impression share says that you are serving 20% of the time you could be, but that means you're not serving 80% of the time you could be. Generally, there's 2 reasons as to why you're not serving. One is either you've run out of budget, or the second is your ad rank. And I'll get into search last IS rank in a moment, but jumping into search absolute top IS, this is the absolute top impression share, percentage of your impressions that appeared in the very first most prominent possible #1 tile in the shopping carousel. So if you are seeing a really high search absolute top IS, then you are dominating. Now, there's often a case to be made that you don't always necessarily need to be in that very first place, but if you're there, you're putting yourself in a really strong position. You are essentially in the shop window. Search lost IS rank. So this is basically the percentage of impressions you lost out on, not because of your budget, but because of your ad rank. Your ad rank was too low relative to other people in the auction who beat you in the auction. So basically, it's a factor of your bid times your feed quality. So if you have a high search lost IS, there's 2 things you can do on a kind of global level. The first is you can increase your bid, just pay more, and you'll be more competitive in the auction. The second thing you can do is improve the quality of your feed, and I'm going to be recording a video breaking down everything I know about product feed optimization. So either you can pay more or you can work harder and improve your listings. And the last metric I want to run through is click share. This is the estimated share of all achievable clicks that you have received. So if you have 90% impression share, that tells you that you're serving, getting as many eyeballs as possible on you, but only 10% click share. That essentially says that people see your ad, so you're putting yourself in a good position, but they're choosing not to click. So once again, most often that's going to be price. And after that, then it's going to be product title and product image. So you really need to have a look inside in Google Merchant Center at your price competitiveness reports to understand where you are versus other people in the market. Because it sounds like if you have a really low click share, but a high impression share, you've got a pricing issue. So some other optimizations, obviously this goes without saying for every other campaign type, you need to make sure your bid strategy is correct and that you're managing it well. You're not having big swings in target ROAS values, just suffocating the algorithm. Correct budget allocation, so you're choosing the right campaign structure, ensuring that the most important products are never limited by budget if they are performing well. Your negative keyword updates, so a couple of times a week, you're in your search term reports, you're making sure that your traffic's really high quality, because if it's not, you are either going to A, waste money on irrelevant clicks, or the latter, which is often even worse, is if you are delivering traffic that's actually not relevant to your product listings, you'll end up serving really high impressions, but you won't get many clicks. What Google thinks when it sees listings that have really high impressions but very few clicks are that they're not relevant and they're not good, and you then get penalized as such. So you don't want that. So you want to find high impressions, low click terms, and if they're not relevant, exclude them. If they are relevant, well, then you need to figure out why you're not getting the clicks. Most often it's a pricing issue. If it's not, it's an image issue. And if it's not, it's a title issue. The shopping specific optimizations then is feed optimization. As I said, I'll have a video on that. Merchant Center program optimization, another video on that. Product diagnostics check, that's coming too, and competitive price monitoring. So feed optimization is all about making sure your image is enticing. It kind of stops the scroll along the shopping carousel, making sure your product title is as relevant as possible, your reviews are coming in, your pricing is competitive, everything like that. Merchant Center program optimization then is things like your top quality store badge. Are you making sure that you are including promotions when relevant? Product diagnostic checks, then that's also inside in Google Merchant Center. You can't advertise products that aren't approved in Google Merchant Center, so you got to make sure that. Competitive price monitoring then also in Google Merchant Center just tells you where you are, what's your benchmark pricing of all of your products relative to other people in the market, making sure that you're competitive as you need to be. Remember, Google Shopping is essentially a price comparison site.
Okay, so now you know how to set up and optimize your shopping campaigns. But here's a question I get all the time. Should I be running Performance Max instead? You're running shopping ads now, but you've probably heard the Performance Max is the new thing, and you're wondering if you should switch. Here's the truth. No one actually talks about the real differences between shopping ads and Performance Max. They just say to use Performance Max because it's newer and it's easier to use. In this next video, I'm going to break down exactly when you should use each one, give you examples of when each campaign type works better, and when you should absolutely not use one over the other. Let's dive in.
Performance Max or standard shopping campaigns. Which is the best option for your e-commerce store in 2026? I've been asked this question 3 times this week alone, so I've decided to put together this video to finally answer it. And I spent over $5 million on both campaign types during 2025, so I know what works and I know what doesn't at scale. I'm going to break down both campaign types, show you live results from accounts we're managing right now, and help you figure out which is the best option for your store. But before we get into that, we need to understand the key differences between Performance Max and standard shopping, because these differences are what determine which you should be using. So let's start there. Standard shopping campaigns are the original way of running shopping ads on Google. They've been around for years. They're an absolute staple in the vast majority of e-commerce accounts. When someone searches for a product, your ad shows up here in the shopping results page with your product image, your title, and your reviews. The key thing about standard shopping is that it only serves in shopping placements. That's it, on the search engine results page and the products tab. Performance Max, on the other hand, is one of Google's newest campaign types released in 2021. And instead of just shopping placements, Performance Max runs across all of Google's ecosystem: YouTube, Gmail, Display, Discover, Search, and finally shopping. So right away you can see the first major difference. Standard shopping is focused and Performance Max is everywhere. But that's just the beginning. Let me show you the other key differences that actually determine your decision between going for Performance Max or standard shopping. So let's start with control. With standard shopping, you've got lots of control. You can manually adjust bids for specific products on specific devices or specific locations. Performance Max, on the other hand, it's heavily automated and you've far less control. And instead, Google's AI makes most of the decisions. Secondly, the data requirements. Standard shopping can work really well even if you're just starting out. You don't need a lot of conversion data, but Performance Max needs data to work well. We're talking at least 30 or 50 or ideally 100 plus conversions every single month, because without that data, Performance Max is really just guessing and it's much more inclined to be really inefficient and waste your ad spend. The third thing is setup complexity. For me, standard shopping is very straightforward to set up. You just need to connect Google Merchant Center to Google Ads and create your very first shopping campaign and you're good to go. Performance Max requires all that, plus text assets, plus images, plus YouTube videos. So technically it's more work up front. Now, there was a really important update from Google back in late 2024 that made a fundamental difference to how we use Google Shopping and Google Performance Max, either in isolation or together. Because previously, if you tried to run both campaigns at the same time, Performance Max would always beat standard shopping. It would steal all your budget and your shopping campaigns would just sit there doing nothing. But Google changed this. And now the ad with the higher ad rank will get the click. And that opened up a completely new strategy that we've been using in 2025. And I'll show you exactly how that works later in the video. But first, let me show you when you should be using each campaign type individually. So when should you use standard shopping campaigns? Well, let me break down the 4 situations where standard shopping is your best option. Firstly, in new accounts. If you're just getting started with Google Ads and you don't have any conversion history yet, standard shopping is the way to go. It doesn't need a massive amount of historical data to perform well. You can launch it, start getting clicks, and begin building that conversion data from day one. Secondly, if you're spending less than $5,000 per month, I generally recommend to focus on efficiency as opposed to reach, because you can't afford to spread your budget really thin across YouTube, Display, Gmail, and shopping, all at once. It simply won't be successful. So standard shopping keeps your spend concentrated on the highest intent placements for people who are actively searching for products just like the ones that you're selling. Third, if you want to test your entire catalog, standard shopping makes it easy to push all your products live and see what actually sells. So this is something that we will often do. We will have a standard shopping campaign for our best sellers performing really well. And then if we want to test the entirety of the remainder of our products in our catalog, we can have a second standard shopping campaign set on low bids where we're testing to see which products have potential. So if you're looking to test your entire catalog, standard shopping is a fantastic way to do that. Number 4, if you're focusing on new customers or cold traffic, standard shopping is perfect for reaching people who have never heard of your brand before, but are searching for the types of products you sell. I've personally found that Performance Max has a tendency to cap out at a lower level because it's got quite a heavy remarketing element to it. I've actually found it much easier to scale standard shoppings twice or 3 times more than the equivalent Performance Max campaigns. So if you're looking to use Google to really focus on cold acquisition, cold traffic, new customers, well then standard shopping can be a fantastic way of doing it. So if any of these decisions describe where you're at the moment, then my recommendation would be to start and try standard shopping campaigns. But let's talk about Performance Max now. I personally think Performance Max is best suited for these 4 specific situations. Firstly, if you have 50 to 100 conversions per month and you're looking to grow quite aggressively. Performance Max is a data-hungry campaign type. It needs conversion history to understand who your customers are and where to find more of them. So without that data, it's essentially guessing. So if you're hitting that conversion volume consistently, then Performance Max has what it needs to perform. So you can see if conversion volume is very low, my recommendation is to opt for standard shopping. If it's higher, you can look at introducing Performance Max into the mix. The second point, which is very similar to the first, if you're spending over $5,000 per month, well, then you can look to introduce Performance Max as well. Once again, if you're spending less than that, you might be finding it difficult to have the conversion volume to even allow you to go to Performance Max, because really Performance Max needs a lot of daily budget, $100, $200 minimum of daily spend, because it's going to dilute it across all of those available networks like search and shopping and display and video. So you need a really high budget. So as I said, if you're under $5,000 per month in ad spend, I would generally recommend opting for standard shopping instead. Number 3, if you've got clear best-selling products, Performance Max tends to work really, really well, especially when you have proven winners that are converting consistently. Google's algorithm via Performance Max can take your proven products and scale them across the entirety of Google's ecosystem. But once again, if your catalog is still unproven or you haven't found those winners, my recommendation is go to standard shopping. And number 4, if you're looking to focus on retargeting or warm traffic. So maybe you've got a big promotion coming up and you want to use it for remarketing, well then Performance Max can be a good option. It's got built-in remarketing properties across all of Google's ecosystem. So if someone visits your site or they interact with a particular product, they can be remarketed to with that specific product on places like YouTube or the display network. It is just such a vast remarketing potential that you can't get with standard shopping. So once again, if you're in any of these situations, then Performance Max could very well be worth running. But here's where it gets really interesting. Most people think it's either or. It's shopping or Performance Max. But what if I told you there's a way to run both of them at the same time without each of them fighting for the same budget? Let me show you exactly how this works. This is what I call the bestseller expansion strategy. So here's the reality. Your shopping placements are going to be your most profitable placements. They drive the highest ROAS and maximize profit because these are people actively searching for your products. High intent, bottom of the funnel, ready to buy. So because of that, you want to maximize your coverage across the entirety of your catalog here. Get all of these products in front of high intent shoppers using standard shopping. But maybe then you hit a ceiling. You max out your placements. You get all of the profitable traffic that you can from people searching for your products. And now you want to grow. Now you want to create new demand. You want to scale your account further. That's when Performance Max comes in. Performance Max lets you expand across multiple networks. YouTube, Gmail, display, discovery, search. This is how you actually scale beyond shopping ads. But here's the mistake that most people make. They take their entire catalog, throw in a random set of ad creative, launch Performance Max, and expect it to scale to infinity. It doesn't work that way. Instead, here's what you do. You take only your top performers, your best-selling products, and you put these into Performance Max. Why? Because chances are you already have the best ad creative for these products. You've already got high quality static images. You've probably got short form content that can be used on YouTube for these proven winning products. And most importantly, these products have proven conversion data within Google Ads because Performance Max needs data to scale. So if you give it products that already have that data, your proven winners, it's much more likely to be successful. You're not wasting budget testing unproven products on expensive YouTube placements or search. You're scaling what already works. Meanwhile, standard shopping is still running your full catalog on the most profitable placements. You're maximizing profit there while Performance Max handles growth and expansion with your winners. So this is the bestseller expansion strategy. maximum catalog coverage on your most profitable placements through standard shopping, and strategic expansion with proven products through Performance Max. Now, let me show you what this looks like in a real account. Okay, so what we have here are the shopping and the Performance Max campaigns of one of our clients. So when we came on board, we would have started with the standard shopping campaign across the entirety of the catalog to see what worked. Now, we have had pretty good performance across this shopping campaign. CTRs are really nice. Conversion value divided by cost, so our ROAS is where it needs to be. Our goal here is just over 3.3, so we're hitting that goal. That's perfect. And our conversion volume here, this is our highest converting shopping or Performance Max campaign by conversion volume. So we said we wanted to expand on our catalog. So this has got our full catalog. So we wanted to take our top performers, our winning products, and move them into a full build Performance Max to make most use out of them in terms of growing across all those available networks to us. So we now have 2 different Performance Max campaigns. We originally only had one, but we decided to separate it out so that we could actually have more budget control across these 2. We set a slightly higher target ROAS here because of that element of remarketing. We have obviously excluded brand as well. So what we're seeing here is this additional revenue. And in this instance here, it is 36K. And in this Performance Max here, it's 25K. So this is net new revenue that we weren't picking up prior to this campaign. So if I take one of these campaigns and if I look at channel performance, which is one of Performance Max's new features where we can dig a little deeper into where our conversions are coming from, you can see that we have a lot of spend, 44%, actually coming through our Discover network. So there's going to be quite a high element of remarketing here. There will be a little bit of cold. We have more display. We have a small bit of Gmail, and we still have this search, which in fact is actually shopping campaigns because this is search ads using product data. And we have an additional little piece of search here. So this is search ads not using product data, which is actually true search. And then we also have a lot of YouTube as well. We can go down and look at performance across those different channels. But what you can see here is that we have now expanded using our top performing products into new networks like YouTube and Discover and search that we previously wouldn't have if we stuck with standard shopping. And that's allowed us to unlock new revenue on new channels at our target KPIs. So that's how we get standard shopping to maximize coverage across the catalog and use Performance Max then to scale our proven winners. If you're an e-commerce brand, I really recommend trying this out. We find it works really, really well, particularly if you've got hero products that you absolutely adore and that move a lot for you on Meta. You can kind of follow a similar pattern to what I've shown here today. Now I've shown you when to use standard shopping. If you're a new account, you're spending less than $5,000 per month in Google Ads. If you're looking to test across the entirety of your product catalog, or if you're looking to focus solely on cold traffic, or to the greatest extent possible, at least within Google. On the other hand, I've shown you when to use Performance Max, and it's a much better option if you have a lot of conversion data, or if you're spending over that $5,000 per month, if you're looking to scale across Google's ecosystem using your proven winners, or if you're looking for that more remarketing touch, particularly around things like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, of course. And most importantly, I've shown you when to use them together using that best seller expansion strategy I spoke about. Running your full catalog in standard shopping for maximal profit and scaling your proven winners through Performance Max for growth.
We've gone through the theory, but now I want to show you practical use of these strategies and a real example of the results they generated for one of our direct consumer partners. I'm going to show you 3 simple changes that took Google Shopping campaigns for this partner from loss making to a 6x ROAS. These aren't complicated strategies or advanced techniques. They're small tweaks to your shopping campaigns and to your merchant center in the backend that most people completely overlook, but they make a massive difference in performance. I've used these exact optimizations to turn struggling campaigns into profit machines. So pay attention, because this could be the very difference between breaking even and making a wild amount of profit. So let's jump in. I just generated $322,000 with a 6x ROAS, and it came down to 3 simple changes that nobody talks about. In this video, I'll break down exactly what I did, what I learned, and how you can apply the same strategy to scale your campaigns fast. As I said, I'm not here to waste your time with theory. This is what real application looks like. Last quarter, I generated $332,000 in revenue with a 6x ROAS. And look, compared with the previous period, these 3 changes made an additional $100K in revenue. And here's what's exciting. These fixes work whether you're spending $5,000 per month on ads or $105,000 per month. So what were my 3 critical learnings? Learning number 1, Performance Max is the easiest campaign to scale on one hand And on the other hand, it's the easiest campaign to get wrong. Here's what everyone else does. They run PMax with no audience signals, or maybe they'll use generic audience interests and do nothing more. And then they'll treat Performance Max as a set and forget it campaign and wonder why it's burning through budget. But here's what's really happening. And this connects to mistake number 3, which I'll talk about in a minute. Performance Max, without proper setup, doesn't just struggle to find good new customers, it actually finds the wrong customers and tries to take credit for conversions it simply shouldn't have credit for. Here's what actually works. I upload segmented customer lists as audience signals. So I download these from Shopify. Generally an all-time list to give you maximum data, maybe a 30 or a 60-day list to give you recent purchasers, and then high value customers. So either top 20% by revenue or by volume of conversions, so how many times they purchased. But basically this is a way of telling Google, hey Google, definitely find me more people like these people who absolutely love and adore my brand. But here's the advanced move. I don't just upload one big customer list or even just recent purchasers or high value purchasers. I go even deeper, because in this instance, for this brand, they had very distinct product categories. They had male, female, children categories. So the type of customer who bought from one category was vastly different to the type of customer who bought from another. So what did I do? I downloaded the customer list, but I filtered for each individual category. That's what made a crazy difference for us really, really quickly. And sure, Google will go beyond your signal. It is just a signal. But I find that if you don't nail this audience signal, you can double or even triple your learning phase duration, where you're just burning through cash unnecessarily. This isn't just about giving Google customer data. This is about giving Google a roadmap about your most profitable, your most loyal customers. And then Google will study their behavior so we can go out and find more people that resemble those behaviors instead of grabbing easy conversions that actually aren't growing your business. This one change increased our Performance Max ROAS from 3.2x to 5.1x. But the real breakthrough came when we fixed mistake number 3. So keep watching. Look, before I show you the next 2 strategies that are absolutely game changing, I need to tell you something. My complete Google Ads playbook, the exact strategies we use to scale brands just like this, is linked in the description below. And here's the thing, it costs absolutely zero. So right now, pause this video, click that link and download it. Then grab a pen and paper, because what I'm about to show you now is pure gold. Don't be the person who watches this whole thing and then forgets to grab the single resource that could change everything for you. So click the link, get the playbook, then come back. I'll wait.
A few moments later.
Okay, learning number 2, and this is where most e-commerce brands leave massive competitive edges on the table. And it happens even before people click on your ads. Here's what everyone does wrong. They set up Google Merchant Center once and never touch it again. They don't know about Google's quality ranking system, and then they run website sales and don't tell Google about them. Here's what actually works. And these were 2 specific optimizations that transformed shopping performance here for us. The first was the top quality store badge. Google awards a top quality store badge to merchants who meet specific criteria. So when you have this badge, your products get preferential treatment in the Google shopping results. You can see it here, rank higher in Google shopping results. It's not just the badge itself, it's actually what it encourages you to deliver to your customers in order to get your hands on it. Because you need to have excellent customer service metrics, fast and reliable shipping, positive reviews. Your reviews need to be coming through to Google Merchant Center and they need to be positive reviews, and a clean account with no policy violations or promotions rejected. And every time we get our hands on this badge for a new brand, we see an immediate spike in performance. It's really that simple. When you set up promotions properly like this in Google Merchant Center, Google adds a sale tag to your shopping listings just like these. And I've seen this little tag increase our click-through rates by up to 200%. But here's the critical part. Your Merchant Center promotions must match exactly what's on your website. If there's any mismatch whatsoever, you'll get disapproved. And what I spoke about earlier, top quality store badge, say goodbye to that. Even the top 10% of e-commerce brands that are using these, it's a great start, but they're only using them for Black Friday, for a specific sale, when actually they could be using it all year round. Because I'm sure you have a new customer promotion, you have a free shipping threshold, you might have a free gift with a purchase over a certain amount. These are all promotions that can be run through Google Merchant Center so you can get
these type of badges. And believe me, these badges make a huge difference. But these merchant center optimizations work even better when you fix the third mistake I'm about to show you. This is the big one that most people never catch, and it's the main reason why your PMax campaigns are not scaling like they should. Performance Max campaigns without proper negative keyword setup don't just struggle to find new customers. They actively steal credit from your other campaigns by capturing branded searches. Here's what's really happening. Your PMax campaigns are capturing easy branded conversions, and this makes performance look better than it actually is. Then you try to scale your PMax campaign, but it's not used to having to work hard, to having to go out and find new customers. So what happens? ROAS falls off a cliff and you strip budget back again. So here's how to fix it. The first thing you can do is you can add a negative keyword list for your brand terms. So if you have one of these created already in your ad account, which you should, you can use a negative keyword list, or you can manually select negative keywords yourself and add them to the campaign. The other thing you can do is go to your campaign settings and click on brand exclusions and add your brand. And now you know Performance Max is being forced to go out and capture non-branded search queries. And this is where your business can truly grow. Here's what's really exciting. These 3 fixes create a compound effect. Removing brand terms helps focus PMax on new customers. Clean audience signals then give PMax direction on how to find them. Better merchant center setup increases your visibility and makes your listings more attractive to new customers. Then you start to convert new customers. The campaign learns on itself and performance skyrockets. It's a flywheel that gets stronger every single month. Here's what I want you to understand. Performance Max isn't broken. Your setup is broken. If you're not seeing results from PMax, it doesn't mean that the campaign type doesn't work. It's because you're letting it take credit for conversions it simply shouldn't get, while not giving it the intelligence to go out and find new customers. But here's what's really exciting. When you fix all 3 of these mistakes, Performance Max becomes exactly what Google promised it would be: a customer acquisition machine. Now, I know some of you are thinking, knowing how to build a campaign that works is one thing, but maintaining and scaling it profitably is another thing altogether. And you're correct. So if you want help optimizing your Google ads to reach consistent high ROAS like this, check out the link below and book a free strategy call with me. I'll walk you through how we can apply these same strategies to your business. Now you know how to launch a complete Google shopping campaign strategy from top to toe, from start to finish. From merchant center setup all the way through to feed optimizations, product image enhancements, and campaign structures. But here's the reality. The real work happens after you launch. Managing your product feed, testing new images, optimizing your bids, and scaling up without killing your ROAS. It takes a lot of time and daily attention. If you want to focus your time on running your business and not staring at ad dashboards all day, then let us handle it for you. We can take this off your plate and use our experience to get you better results faster. If you're serious about growing your e-commerce brand to 7, 8, or even 9 figures with the help of Google Shopping, well, click the link in the description below to book a free strategy call with me today. We'll map out your goals together and discuss a clear path to use Google and YouTube ads to help you achieve them. And if you found this course useful, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you with the next one.